Something purple is oozing from the ceiling. Thick drops fall onto the stone floor and sizzle like oil in a frying pan. The air smells of sulfur and old rags. Daniel So opens his eyes and doesn't know where he is. The body is not his own. His arms are thinner than they used to be. His fingers are long and pale. No horns, no wings. A heart he doesn't recognize is beating in his chest. An open magazine lies on the table in front of him. The yellow pages are covered with brown stains. The inscription on the cover reads, Class F13, Enrollment 4, Expected Graduates 0, 4 names, 4 lines. Next to each one is a note, recommended for disposal. He turns the page. On the inside cover, someone has scratched with a claw, previous homeroom teacher, reason for replacement, accident in an acid pit, term of service, 11 days. Daniel closes the register and puts it back on the desk. A voice in his head utters 3 words, class register activated. A translucent panel flashes before his eyes. System, S-rank class register, host, Kale Vorn, magic reserve, 4 units, academy average reserve, 400 units, position, homeroom teacher of class F13, expected lifespan, 17 minutes. Daniel blinks. The panel doesn't disappear. He blinks again. The panel flashes and adds a line. System recommendation, run. He smirks. In his past life, he had a student named Ji-hoon. Ji-hoon set fire to the school gym during the 2nd week of September. During the 3rd week, he brought a knife to class. During the 4th week, Daniel sat with him on the roof and listened to him bawl. By December, Ji-hoon had passed his exams. The system recommends running. Daniel has been working with Korean students for 12 years. Children. 4 of them are troublemakers. Statistically, this is an easy shift. He gets up from the desk and surveys the office. A former storage room, 3 meters by 4. The walls are covered with something black, maybe mold, maybe blood. 2 chairs. One is broken. A board on the wall is split in half. Chalk lies in a box that was once the skull of a small demon. There's 1 window, a stained glass window depicting some archdemon devouring infants. A dim crimson light seeps through the stained glass window. A teapot sits on the windowsill. Daniel picks it up, empty, but intact. The system helpfully adds, the teapot's magic reserve, 12 units. The teapot has 3 times as much magic as he does. Perfect. There's a closet in the corner. Daniel opens it. Inside is a jacket, worn, with a hole in the elbow. It smells of acid, probably left behind by his predecessor. Daniel puts it on over Kale's shirt, a hole in the left elbow, a stain on the right shoulder. 3 out of 4 buttons are still there. It'll do. He returns to the table and opens the journal again. 4 names. Elias Crumb, 16 years old, vampire, note, coward. Una Park, 17 years old, werewolf, note, dangerous, bit off the previous curator's head. Sarah Morgante, 16 years old, succubus, note, defective. Rena Kane, 15 years old, demoness, note, hornless. Daniel looks at these notes. Coward, dangerous, defective, hornless. Not names, labels. He takes a red pen from his predecessor's jacket pocket. She's still writing. He carefully crosses out each note, one by one. A red line over the word coward, a red line over the word dangerous, a red line over the word defective, a red line over the word hornless. The system beeps. Educational item detected. Red pen. Classroom. Ordinary. Effect. He crosses out what's written. Daniel puts the pen back in his breast pocket. The system adds a new line. Attention. Students are approaching the classroom. Distance, 40 meters. The student's mood, hostile. He hears footsteps in the hallway. 4 pairs of feet. 1 steps heavily. 1 almost silently. 1 shuffles. 1 stomps deliberately loudly. Daniel adjusts the collar of someone else's jacket. He squares his shoulders. He checks the teapot one more time. Empty. Too bad. A good teacher greets a new class with tea, but it'll do even without tea. The main thing is a smile. The door swings open with a kick. 4 of them stand in the doorway. Rena Kane enters first. Small, skinny. No horns. Her hair sticks out in all directions. Her eyes are angry. She kicks a broken chair and sits down on the floor by the wall. The second to enter is Yuna Park. Tall, broad-shouldered. Her eyes are closed. She's sleeping on the move. Literally. Her body moves by inertia. She crashes into the wall and slides to the floor next to Rena. She doesn't wake up. Sarah Morgante enters third, a high-necked dress, gloves up to her elbows. Her head is bowed. She scans the office with a quick glance and stands in the farthest corner, with her back to the wall. Her arms are crossed over her chest. Elias Crumb enters last. He's thin, pale, even for a vampire. He stands in the doorway and doesn't come in. His hands are trembling. He looks at the stained glass window, and his face turns gray. Sunlight streaming through the colored glass falls directly on the front door. Elias cannot enter without stepping into the beam. Daniel notices this in 3 seconds. 3 seconds. That's all it takes for a teacher with 12 years of experience to assess the situation. He silently takes off his jacket. He walks over to the stained glass window. He hangs his jacket on a nail in the frame. The fabric covers the lower part of the glass. The beam disappears. The way is clear. Elias looks at him. His mouth is slightly open. His eyes are wide. He walks into the office. 3 steps. He sits down on the only intact chair. His hands are still shaking, but he's inside. The system beeps. The student's profile opens. Elias Crumb. Fear. Sunlight. Violence. His own mother. Resentment. 8 years of bullying at the academy. Hidden talent. Blocked. Breakdown trigger. Blood. What he wants to hear. What he doesn't have to drink. Trust. 2 out of 100. Daniel doesn't show that he sees the panel. He turns to face the class. 4 pairs of eyes. 2 hostile. 1 frightened. 1 closed because Yuna is asleep. He smiles, just as he smiled at Jihun on the first day, calmly, warmly, without fear. He says his name is Daniel So, and that he'll be their homeroom teacher. He asks who wants tea. Silence. Rena snorts and says he's an idiot and that they don't have any tea. Daniel nods and says that's not right and that there will be tea tomorrow. Sarah watches him from her corner. Her gloved fingers unclench slightly. The system adds a line. Sarah Morgante. Micro-reaction. Surprise. Reason. He didn't look at her body. Elias sits in his chair, and for the first time today, his hands stop shaking for 3 seconds. Then they start again. But 3 seconds, it's a start. Daniel pulls a small white pill out of his jacket pocket, an ascorbic acid tablet. Cale Warren had kept it as a rarity. Vitamin C. Human medicine. A useless thing in the world of demons. He places the pill in front of Elias. Elias looks at it as if it were a bomb. Daniel says it's human vitamin C. He says it neutralizes the free radicals from sunburn. He says to take one before breakfast. Elias picks up the pill with 2 fingers. His hands are shaking so badly that he almost drops it. He doesn't understand. No one had ever noticed before that the light hurt him. Everyone knew. Everyone laughed. For 8 years. His eyes well up with tears. He quickly turns away and hides the pill in his pocket. The system beeps. Elias Crumb. Trust plus 15. Current value 17 out of 100. Hidden parameter revealed. He wants someone to notice that he's in pain. Daniel doesn't smile triumphantly. He doesn't comment. He simply turns toward the blackboard. He takes a piece of chalk from the skull-shaped box. He writes a single sentence on the cracked blackboard. Rule number 1. No one in this class is trash. Rena reads the inscription and opens her mouth to say something rude. She closes it, opens it again, closes it. For the first time in a long time, she doesn't know what to say. Yuna opens one eye. She reads the inscription. She closes her eye. But the corner of her mouth twitches by a millimeter. Sarah, standing in the corner, reads the inscription and turns away toward the wall. Her shoulders drop slightly. The tension in them eases. Just a fraction. But it eases. The system displays the overview panel. Class F13. Overall trust level, 42 out of 400. Class resonance, 3%. Days until the bloody circle exam, 30. Bookmaker's odds on F13, 1 to 4,000. Expected graduates, 0. Daniel puts the chalk back in the skull-shaped box. 30 days, 4 students. Magic reserve, 4 units. 0 combat skills. 1 jacket with a hole in the elbow. 1 red pen. And 12 years of experience with Korean teenagers. Ji-hoon burned down the gym. Mingyu sold pills to first graders. So-yeon stayed silent for 2 years straight. He handled it back then. He'll handle it now, too. The system adds the last line for today. The host's life expectancy has been recalculated. New value, 18 minutes. Up by 1 minute. Daniel snorts. Progress. First night at the Ball Nemrod Academy. Daniel sits at a table in the storage room and reads a magazine by the light of a candle stub. It's a magic candle. It burns purple. It reeks of sulfur, but it burns. He's studying the student's personal files. The system has revealed Elias's profile. The other 3 are still locked. Only basic data. Yuna Park, 17 years old. Werewolf. Eastern Wolves Clan. Reason for enrollment in F class. Killed her previous mentor. Method, bit off his head. Age at the time of the incident, 12 years old. Daniel rereads that line. 12, a child. She bit off the head of an adult demon at the age of 12. He thinks of Ji-hoon. Ji-hoon punched his gym teacher in 5th grade. He broke the teacher's nose. Everyone said Ji-hoon was a monster. No one asked why he hit him, but the reason was simple. The gym teacher beat him every class. Daniel turns the page. Sarah Morgante, 16 years old. Succubus, wingless. House of Morgante. House status, fallen. Reason for enrollment in Class F, physical defect, lack of wings. Additional information. Put up for sale 3 times by the head of the house. Returned 3 times by buyers. Daniel closes the journal, opens it again, rereads it. Put up for sale 3 times. She was 14. He clenches the cover so tightly that his knuckles turn white. At his old school, there was a girl named So-yeon. She remained silent for 2 years. She didn't say a single word. Not to the teachers, not to her classmates, not to the counselor. Daniel sat next to her during breaks for an entire semester. He just sat there. He didn't ask questions. He didn't pressure her. On the 143rd day, she said 1 word, his name. He opens the latest case. Rena Kane, 15 years old, a demoness. The youngest branch of the Kane clan, hornless. Reason for enrollment in Class F, a genetic defect, the absence of horns. Additionally, the youngest of 7 sisters. All the others have horns. Horn growth stimulation methods were applied starting at age 6. The result was negative. Daniel doesn't know what horn growth stimulation methods are, but he knows what it means when a 6-year-old child is beaten so that what's supposed to grow will grow. He closes the journal. He puts his hands on the table. He sits in silence. The candle crackles. Purple shadows dance across the walls. 4 children, 4 stories, 1 formula. The adults caused the pain. The world tossed it in the trash. The system entered a 0 in the column for expected graduates. Daniel takes out a red pen. He opens the journal to the first page. There it says, expected graduates, 0. He crosses out the 0. He writes next to it, 4. The system is silent. A red pen is just an ordinary pen. It isn't magic. It doesn't change reality. It just writes. But for 12 years, Daniel had believed in one thing. Whatever a teacher writes in red becomes true. Morning, day 2. Daniel arrives at the classroom 20 minutes before class starts. He's holding a teapot, full. He spent the entire morning looking for water. He found a well in the courtyard. A gargoyle guards the well. The gargoyle demanded a password. Daniel said he was the homeroom teacher for class F13 and that he needed water for tea. The gargoyle burst out laughing. She laughed for 4 minutes. Then she let him through. Apparently, she decided it was the funniest thing she'd heard in 300 years. The teapot stands on 100. The water is boiling thanks to a magical candle stub. Slowly. It would be faster over a regular flame. But there's no regular flame here. The door opens. Rena comes in first. She looks at the teapot, then at Daniel, then back at the teapot. She says he really did bring tea. Daniel nods. He promised yesterday. Rena sits down on the floor. This time, she doesn't kick the chair. She stares at the teapot, and her foot taps the floor, quickly, nervously, like a child waiting for a present but afraid it will be taken away. Sarah comes in. She stands in her corner, but half a step closer than yesterday. Elias arrives. He sits down on a chair. He looks at the stained glass window. Daniel's jacket is still hanging on him. The beam of light doesn't hit the door. Elias sits down, and his hands are shaking just a little less than yesterday. Just a little, but less. Yuna is the last to arrive. She's half asleep. She bumps into the doorframe. She slides to the floor. She doesn't wake up. Daniel pours boiling water into 4 cups. He found the cups in the cupboard. One is cracked. One is missing a handle. One has a chipped rim. One is intact. He places the intact one in front of Yuna on the floor. He takes the cracked one for himself. He gives the one without a handle to Rena. He hands the one with the chipped rim to Elias, carefully turning it so the chip faces away from his lips. He holds out the cup to Seer at arm's length. He doesn't come any closer. He doesn't intrude on her personal space. He waits. Seer looks at his hand, at the cup, at his face. He doesn't look below her collarbones. She notices this. She takes the cup. The system beeps softly. Sierra Morgante, trust +2, current value 10 out of 100, micro-reaction, acceptance, reason, respectful distance, threshold 10 reached, profile expanded, fear, touch, a man's gaze, her own reflection, resentment, sold 3 times, returned 3 times as defective merchandise, hidden talent, blocked, breakdown trigger, when someone judges her appearance, what she wants to hear, that she's valuable for more than just her body. Daniel takes a sip from a chipped cup, boiling water without tea leaves, just hot water. But the 4 of them are sitting in the same office, drinking from the same teapot. That's already a lesson, the most important one. A lesson about how someone came, prepared it, poured it, asked for nothing in return. He sets down his cup and says that today they'll be learning 3 things: how a team works, what a partner's back is, and why chess is necessary. Rena asks what chess is. Daniel pulls a folded sheet of paper out of his pocket. He draws an 8x8 board on it. He explains the rules. Rena listens. Her foot stops tapping on the floor. She listens intently. Elias moves closer. Sarah stays in the corner, but turns to face the board. Yuna is asleep, but her ear turns slightly toward Daniel's voice. A wolf's ear. She hears, even in her sleep. Daniel explains. Each piece is weak on its own. A pawn moves 1 square, but together, pawns control an entire file. A knight jumps in a strange, erratic way, but that's exactly why it's dangerous, because it's unpredictable. A rook is strong only in open space. If it's trapped in a corner, it's useless. He looks at Rena. Rena is small, mean, loud, sassy. Everyone thinks she's weak because she has no horns. A pawn. But a pawn that reaches the end of the board becomes a queen. He looks at Elias. Elias is afraid. He's trembling. He's hiding. A knight. He jumps erratically, but if you give him space, he'll strike from where no one expects it. He looks at Sarah. A rook. Strong, but trapped in a corner by her own pain. She needs open space. He looks at Yuna. Yuna is asleep. A queen pretending to be a sleeping pawn. He doesn't tell them this out loud. It's too soon. But he sees it. The system sees it, and he knows. In 30 days, it won't be 4 outcasts stepping into the arena of the bloody circle. It will be a team. The bell rings. The end of the first class on the 2nd day. Rena says that chess is stupid and that she wants to learn how to fight. Daniel says that anyone who can think 3 moves ahead doesn't need to fight. Rena snorts. But she takes the piece of paper with the chessboard drawn on it with her. She quickly hides it in her pocket so no one notices. Daniel notices. The system beeps. Rena Kane, trust +3, current value 15 out of 100, micro-reaction, interest, reason. He didn't say she was weak. The class disperses. Yuna is the last to leave. She wasn't asleep. She listened to the entire lesson with her eyes closed. She stops at the door. She doesn't turn around. She says one word, "Thank you," quietly, almost a whisper. for the tea. Then she leaves. Daniel sits in the empty classroom. The teapot has gone cold. 4 cups sit on the table. The system displays a panel. Class F13. Overall trust level, 52 out of 400. Daily increase, 10 points. Days until the exam, 29. Host's expected lifespan, 22 minutes. Increase of 4 minutes. Progress. Slow, but progress. Day 3, morning. Daniel stands in front of the closet in his office and looks at the schedule. The schedule is posted on the inside of the door. Someone wrote it in blood. Monday, applied brutality. Professor Valzerat. Tuesday, survival in acidic environments. Teaching assistant grow. Wednesday, combat training. Instructor to be assigned before class. Thursday, demonic genealogy. Professor Ka Ness. Friday, physical disposal. No instructor. Note, medical assistance is not provided for Class F. Daniel rereads the schedule. Applied brutality. Physical disposal. This isn't an education, it's an extermination program. The system beeps. Tip: the homeroom teacher has the right to replace up to 40% of the schedule with teacher-designed classes. Basis: Ball Nemrod Academy Charter, Article 23, Section 7. Daniel picks up a red pen. He crosses out physical disposal on Friday. He writes next to it, class hour. Topic: to be determined by the teacher. He crosses out applied cruelty on Monday. He writes strategy and analysis. Instructor, Cale Warren. The system beeps again. Attention. Schedule change for F13 has been registered. Professor Valzerat has received notification. Response, pending. Daniel hangs the schedule back up. Valzerat will receive notification that his course has been removed from the F-class curriculum. Archdemon, 400 years old, creator of the disposal system, the very one who came up with the idea of feeding F-class students to the older ones as expendable material. Daniel has worked in the education system for 12 years. He knows that the most dangerous people aren't those who beat children. The most dangerous are those who create a system in which it is legal to beat children. Valzerat is that system. But rules are rules, even in hell. He leaves his office and walks down the hallway. The Ball Nemrod Academy is enormous, 7 buildings, each one for its own class. The S-class occupies the entire first building. Marble floors, golden chandeliers, servants at every corner. The F-class is located in the basement of the 7th building, beneath the laundry room, between the storage room and the cesspool. Daniel walks down the hallway of the 3rd building. This is where the A-class studies. The walls are adorned with portraits of graduates, all with horns, all with wings, all with an expression that says the world belongs to them by birthright. The dining hall is located between the buildings, shared by all classes. Daniel enters. A huge hall, stone tables, stone benches. The ceiling is lost in the darkness. It smells of meat and something sweet. 300 students, a hum of voices, the clatter of dishes, and complete silence in one corner. A table far away against the wall, 4 plates, 3 empty chairs. Rena sits alone. She eats quickly. Her head is bowed. Her shoulders are hunched up to her ears. She takes up as little space as possible, as if trying to become invisible. Around her is a semicircle of emptiness. No one sits closer than 3 tables away, as if she were contagious. Daniel picks up a tray. He places what looks like food on it. He walks over to Rena's table. He sits down across from her. Rena looks up. Her eyes are wide. She says he shouldn't be sitting there. She says teachers eat in the faculty lounge. Daniel says he prefers to eat with his class. Rena looks at him. Then she glances around. The entire room is watching them. 300 pairs of eyes. The teacher is sitting with Class F class in the cafeteria at the table for outcasts. A wave of whispering ripples through the room. Rena clenches her spoon. Her knuckles turn white. She tells him he's crazy. Daniel says he's been told that before. Elias walks in. He sees Daniel at the table. He freezes. Then he approaches. He sits down next to Rena. His hands are shaking, but he sits down. Sarah enters. She scans the room. She sees the table. She sees Daniel. She walks toward them. Every step takes effort. 300 pairs of eyes are sizing up her body. She can feel it. Her shoulders stiffen. Her gloves grip the hem of her dress, but she makes it over. She stands next to the table. She doesn't sit down. She stands there. Daniel doesn't try to persuade her. He doesn't pressure her. He just eats. A minute later, Sarah sits down, on the edge of the bench, ready to stand up at any second, but she sits. Yuna doesn't come. Yuna is sleeping somewhere in the hallway. Daniel takes mental note of this. She needs time, more than the others. He won't rush her. They eat in silence. 4 at the table. The whole hall is watching. And then Carmel appears, the A-class head student, 17 years old, 3 horns, 2 curved backward, 1 jutting upward down the center of his forehead, a robe with a gold trim. 4 follow behind him, his entourage. All of them have at least 2 horns. Carmel approaches table F13. He stops. He looks down at Rena. He speaks loudly so the entire hall can hear. He says that the hornless one has dragged herself into the dining hall again. He says she reeks of humanity. He says she's a disgrace to her clan, and that even her sisters are ashamed she's alive. Rena freezes. The spoon in her hand stops halfway to her mouth. Her face turns to stone. Her eyes go glassy. Daniel sees her body tense up. He sees her getting ready to pounce. She's small, skinny, hornless. Carmel is 3 times her size, 3 horns. A Class A magical reserve by any measure. If she lunges at him, he'll smash her against the wall, and she knows it, but she's ready to jump. Because she can't stand it, because she's 15 and she's in pain, and the only way she knows how to cope is to lash out at those who hurt her. Daniel stands up. Slowly, he sets his spoon on the table. He adjusts his shirt collar, his non-existent glasses. He turns toward Carmel. The cafeteria falls silent. 300 students stop chewing. Daniel says that the young man has just insulted a minor student in the presence of a teacher. He says that according to Article 47, Section 3 of the Baal Nemrod Academy's bylaws, insulting a student under the age of 16 in a public place is punishable by a disciplinary report and a summons to the avia or guardian. He says that, as the victim's homeroom teacher, he is required to file a report within 24 hours, or Carmel can apologize publicly right now. Silence. Absolute silence. 300 students are watching. Carmel looks at Daniel. His face goes blank. He doesn't understand. No one at this academy has ever cited the charter. The charter is a dusty book in the library that no one has opened in 100 years. Demons settle disputes by force, with horns, with fangs, with blood, not with paragraphs. Carmel says he knows who Cale Warren is. He says he's a half-breed with a reserve of 4 units. He says his father is a bastard and his mother is unknown. He says he could crush him with a single snap of his fingers. Daniel doesn't move. He doesn't blink. He doesn't raise his voice. He says that all of this might be true, but the rules are the rules, and he'll file a report either way, and that for the report, he'll need the names of witnesses, and that there are about 300 witnesses in this room. Carmel looks around. 300 faces are staring at him. Some are smirking. The A-class head stands before the F-class teacher and cannot respond, because to respond with force would mean striking the teacher. And that's already a violation of Article 12, expulsion. Even for the heirs of the great clans. Carmel clenches his fists. His 3 horns glow faintly with rage. Magic weighs heavily on the air. Daniel feels the pressure. 4 reserve units against several hundred. His body trembles. His muscles tense. Cale Warren wants to fall to his knees, but Daniel So stands his ground. Because he once stood before Jihoon's father, who was a head taller and 40 kilograms heavier, as the man screamed that he'd smash his face in. And he didn't flinch then. He won't flinch now. Carmel turns and walks away. No apology. But he leaves. The room exhales. A wave of whispers rises. Daniel sits down. He picks up a spoon. He continues eating. His hands shake under the table. But his face is calm. Rena looks at him. Her eyes are moist. She quickly wipes her face with her sleeve. She says he's still crazy, but her voice trembles, not out of anger. The system beeps. Rena Kane, trust plus 20, current value 35 out of 100. Reason, the first adult who took her side, not by force, with words. The system beeps again. Elias Crum, trust plus 2, current value 19 out of 100. Reason, witness the defense. For the first time, he sees that words can stop force. Once more. Sarah Morgante, trust plus 2, current value 12 out of 100. Reason, he protected the child, did not demand gratitude. Daniel finishes his meal. He stands up. He gathers the trays, his own and his students', and carries them to the counter. 300 pairs of eyes watch him leave. The system adds an entry. Teaching points plus 30 pp. Reason, high-quality teaching moment. Category, protecting a student from an aggressor. Method, non-violent. A new item has appeared in the system's shop. Chalk that erases curses. Cost, 50 pp. Current balance, 45 pp. 5 short. Daniel smirks. 5 points. 1 good lesson. He leaves the cafeteria. The hallway is quiet. He leans against the wall, closes his eyes, exhales. His hands are still shaking. Carmel's magical pressure has left its mark. His head is spinning. Kale's body is weak. 4 reserve units aren't enough to protect against a high schooler's magical pressure. If Carmel hadn't left, if he'd struck, Daniel would be lying on the cafeteria floor with broken ribs, and all 4 of his students would have seen it. He clenches his fists, unclenches them, clenches them again. He needs to be stronger. No, not him, them, the 4 of them. In 28 days, the blood circle, class against class, F13 against Divi Solis's A class. If his students go in as they are now, they'll die. They won't lose. They'll die. He opens his eyes, straightens up, walks back to his office. Yuna is sitting on the floor in front of the door, asleep. A dead deer lies on the floor next to her, a large one. The deer's antlers are broken. Its neck has been bitten through. Yuna brought food, like a wolf, prey at the threshold. So she was in the dining room. So she saw it. So she heard what he said to Carmel. The deer is her way of saying thank you. Daniel looks at the deer. He looks at Yuna. She's asleep, or she's pretending to. He carefully steps over the deer, opens the door, enters the study, puts the kettle on. The system beeps softly. Yuna Park, trust plus 5. Current value 10 out of 100. Reason, he didn't try to wake her up, didn't try to take the prey away, accepted the gift. Threshold 10 reached. Profile expanded. Fear, loss of control over the second form, awakening when she's not ready. Resentment. The clan forbade transformation. 5 years of suppression. Hidden talent. Blocked. Breakdown trigger. When someone tries to control her, what she wants to hear, that she's allowed to sleep. Daniel reads the profile. 5 years of suppressing her second form. The clan banned transformation because her wolf is white. The color white is sacred to the rival clan. Wearing a white pelt in the Eastern Wolves clan is like wearing the enemy's flag. Her own body is a betrayal. Daniel pours tea into a whole cup, the one he gave to Yuna yesterday. He steps out into the hallway. He places the cup next to her hand. He returns to the office. He closes the door. A minute later, he hears a soft sound. Yuna is drinking. 26 days until the blood circle. Daniel sits in his office and counts. 4 students. Total trust level, 73 out of 400. Class resonance, 11%. 50% is needed for activation. Resonance is needed to win in the arena. Without resonance, 4 F-rank students against 4 A-rank students isn't a fight. It's an execution. He needs to raise the trust for each student to at least 50. Elias, 19. Yuna, 10. Sarah, 12. Rena, 35. Total gap to the goal, 127 points. 26 days. Roughly 5 trust points per day per student. It's possible, if every day is like the 3rd day, If he does something meaningful every day, the system beeps. Notification. Professor Valzerat has requested a meeting with the homeroom teacher of class F13. Time, today, in 2 hours. Location, Department of Applied Cruelty, Building 3, 8th floor. Daniel sets aside his journal. Valzerat, a 400-year-old archdemon, the creator of the disposal system, the man who, 20 years ago, transformed the F classes from a forgotten disgrace into a legalized meat grinder. Daniel dropped his class from the schedule, and Valzerat wants to talk. Not to kill, to talk. That's worse. 2 hours later, Daniel is standing in front of the department's door, 8th floor. The hallway is wide. The walls are black marble. Portraits hang on the walls. Not alumni, trophies, heads. Dozens of heads on wooden stands. Demons, half-demons. Creatures Daniel can't identify. A plaque under each head. Name, rank, reason for disposal. Academic failure, insubordination, weakness, defect. He walks past them, counts them. 37 heads. 37 students whom Valzerat personally disposed of over the course of 20 years. Daniel knocks on the door. A voice invites him in. Valzerat's office is large, 20 meters by 15, floor-to-ceiling windows. The entire academy courtyard is visible outside the windows. A mahogany desk. The desk is tidy, not a single piece of paper out of place. A leather armchair. Behind the armchair is a floor-to-ceiling bookcase. Valzerat is sitting at the desk. He looks like a professor, exactly like that. His graying hair is combed back. He wears glasses, a 3-piece suit. 4 horns grow from his forehead in a smooth arc. Each is polished to a shine. He is tall, broad-shouldered, but his strength does not lie in his body. It lies in his eyes. His eyes are yellow, calm. The eyes of a being who has lived for 4 centuries and has never once doubted his own righteousness. Valzerat says he's glad to finally meet him. He says he's been following the experiment at F13 for a long time. He calls it an experiment. Not work, not teaching, an experiment. He offers Daniel a seat, a chair across from the desk. Daniel sits down. The chair is comfortable, soft. He can feel the difference. His chair in the storage room is broken. Here, it's a leather chair. This is no accident. It's a message. You're sitting in my world, by my rules. Valzerat says he's read the changes to the schedule. He says that Article 23, Section 7 does indeed give the homeroom teacher the right to replace 40% of the curriculum. He says this is the first time in 20 years that anyone has opened the charter. He smiles, a warm smile, a fatherly one, the smile of a teacher who's proud of a resourceful student. Daniel recognizes that smile. He used to smile like that himself, many times. It's the smile of an educator, and it sends a chill down his spine. Valzerat says he has no objection to the changes. He says that F13 wouldn't have survived his course anyway. Not a single F class has ever survived. That's the statistic. 20 years, 22 classes, 0 graduates. He says this calmly, like a scientist reading the results of an experiment. 0 graduates, 88 students, 0 at the end. Daniel is silent. He's counting. 88 children over 20 years, 37 bodies in the hallway, the remaining 51. Valzerat seems to read his thoughts. He says the rest died in the arena, during practical training, in acid pits, because of their own weakness. He says it's natural selection. He says the demonic world survives only because the weak are weeded out. That's his teaching method, through terror, through pain, through the destruction of those who cannot become stronger. He believes in this, sincerely. Daniel looks at him and sees, this is not a monster. This is a teacher, a different kind of teacher, with a different belief. Valzerat believes that strength is born of fear, that the only way to raise a warrior is to break everything human within him, or demonic, everything soft, everything warm, to leave only fangs and instinct. Daniel believes the opposite. For 12 years, he believed that strength is born of trust, that a broken child does not become stronger, he becomes empty, and emptiness does not triumph. It simply destroys everything around it until it destroys itself. Valzero leans forward, his eyes narrow. He says he has a proposal. He says that in 26 days, the bloody circle will take place. F-13 will face off against his A-class team, against Carmel and his best fighters. He says the outcome is a foregone conclusion, but he respects courage. That's why he's offering a deal. If F-13 loses in the arena, Daniel will personally sign the disposal orders for the disposal of all 4, as their class advisor, his signature, his responsibility. If he refuses to sign, they'll dispose of him first, and then his students. Daniel is silent for 3 seconds. 5, 10. Valzerot waits, patiently, like a boa constrictor. Daniel says he accepts. Valzerot raises an eyebrow. He hadn't expected agreement. He'd expected bargaining, pleading, fear. Daniel says he accepts the condition, because his class won't lose. Valzerot laughs, quietly, approvingly, like a teacher whose student has handed in a beautiful but incorrect answer. He says he's impressed. He says he hasn't seen such naivety in a long time. He says that 4 F-rankers won't defeat 4 A-rankers. It's impossible mathematically, magically, physically. No rules and no T can replace strength. Daniel stands up. He says that mathematics doesn't account for one variable. Valzerot asks which one. Daniel says, the teacher. He turns around and walks out. In the hallway, he passes by 37 heads again. He counts his steps. 37 steps to the stairs, 1 for each head. He goes down to the first floor. He steps out into the courtyard. The sun blinds him, the crimson sun of a demonic world. He clenches his fists in his pockets. His hands are shaking, not from fear, from rage. 88 children, 20 years, 0 graduates, and not a single person ever said, stop. The system is ringing. Teaching points, plus 15 pp. Reason, refusal to surrender to the system of oppression. Current balance, 60 pp. Curse erasing chalk is available for purchase. Cost, 50 pp. Buy. Daniel buys the chalk. The system confirms. Item received. Curse erasing chalk. Class, rare. Effect, removes 1 active curse upon physical contact with the surface on which the cursed person's name is written. Restriction, single use. He puts the chalk in his pocket, returns to the office, opens the door. All 4 are inside. Rena is sitting on the floor, drawing chess pieces on a scrap of paper. Elias is reading a textbook. It's old, with a torn cover. He found it in the closet. Sarah is standing in the corner, but closer than usual, a whole step closer. Yuna is lying on the floor, asleep, or pretending to be. Daniel looks at them, the 4 of them. 26 days. He sits down at the table. He says that starting tomorrow, they'll begin preparing for the blood circle. He says that in 26 days, they'll step into the arena against an A-class team. He says that according to all the predictions, they're supposed to lose. Rena snorts and says she knows that, and that everyone knows it. Daniel says he's not finished yet. He says that according to all the predictions, they're supposed to lose. But those predictions are made by people who've never seen the 4 of them work together. Elias looks up from his textbook. His eyes are wide. He asks quietly, stuttering, how can they win? Their combined strength is less than that of a single Carmel. Daniel takes out a drawn chessboard. He places it on the table. He says that on a chessboard, a pawn is worth 1 point. A queen is worth 9. But 4 pawns working together can drive them into a corner and take it off the board. Because a queen thinks for itself, but pawns think for each other. Rena looks at the board. Elias looks at the board. Sarah, in the corner, tilts her head slightly. Yuna, on the floor, opens one eye. Daniel says that starting tomorrow, every morning for 2 hours before class, running, stretching, and working in pairs. No fighting, just work. Learn to sense your partner beside you. Learn to trust the back of the person standing behind you. Rena says it's pointless anyway. Daniel asks if she plays chess. Rena falls silent. Then she pulls a crumpled piece of paper with a chessboard drawn on it out of her pocket. The very same one she took during the second lesson. She plays, every evening, by herself. The system beeps quietly. Rina Kane, trust +3. Current value 38 out of 100. Reason, he noticed she was training. 25 days until the blood circle. First training session. 5 in the morning. The academy's courtyard. It's dark. A crimson moon hangs over the walls. The air is cold and damp. Daniel stands in the middle of the courtyard. 4 people stand before him. Rina yawns. Elias shivers. Sarah stands straight and still as a statue. Yuna is asleep on her feet. Daniel says they'll start with something simple. Running. 3 laps around the courtyard. The courtyard is 60 meters long and 40 meters wide. 3 laps is 600 meters. For a demon, that's just a warm-up. For an F class, it's a trial. Rina takes off first. She runs fast, furiously, as if she's running away from something. She completes the first lap in a minute, the second in a minute and a half. On the third, she slows down. Her legs get tangled. Her breathing is ragged, but she finishes the lap. She falls to her knees. She spits. She gets up. Elias runs slowly, carefully. His body is skinny. His long legs get tangled up. He stumbles at the first turn. Falls, gets up, keeps running, stumbles again, gets up. The first lap takes 3 minutes, the second, 4. On the third, he walks. The last 10 meters make him feel sick. Sarah runs smoothly, steadily, perfect posture, perfect stride, as if she'd been taught to do it. 3 laps without a single misstep. She isn't sweating, she isn't tired, but her eyes are empty. She isn't running with her body. She learned long ago to make her body do whatever she's told. This isn't training, this is obedience. Yuna isn't running. Yuna stands still and looks at Daniel with one open eye. Daniel doesn't tell her to run. He doesn't order her. He doesn't pressure her. He waits. 1 minute, 2, 3. Yuna turns around. She runs slowly. The first lap, the second. On the third, she picks up speed, abruptly, powerfully. Her body changes in a fraction of a second. Her muscles tense beneath her skin. Her spine lengthens. Her pupils narrow to slits. Not a transformation, a shadow of a transformation. She runs the third lap in 2 seconds. She stops. She's breathing heavily. Her body is trembling. Suppression. 5 years of suppression break through for a second, and she forces it back down. Daniel sees it. The system sees it. Yuna Park. Hidden stat. Speed in human form, 340. Speed during partial transformation, 1,200. Speed in full form, blocked. She's fast, incredibly fast, but she's afraid of her speed, because speed is a she-wolf, and the she-wolf is white, and white means an outsider. Daniel approaches her, not too close, at arm's length. He quietly says, "She's fast." Yuna doesn't answer. Her shoulders tense. He adds that being fast is good. He doesn't explain. He doesn't analyze. Just good. Yuna remains silent, but her shoulders drop by a millimeter. The system beeps. Yuna Park. Trust +3. Current value 13 out of 100. Reason. He wasn't scared of her speed. He didn't demand an explanation. Daniel moves on to the second part of the training. Partner work. He pairs Rina with Elias, Seru with Yuna. The task is simple. One person stands with their eyes closed. The other stands behind them. The one standing behind must catch the one in front if they fall backward. Elias can't close his eyes. His hands are shaking. His body refuses to fall. Every cell in his body screams that if he falls, he won't be caught. He's never been caught before. Rina stands behind him, small, skinny. No horns. She weighs half as much as he does. If he falls, she won't be able to hold him. Elias knows this. Daniel approaches. He stands next to Rina. He tells Elias that he'll be right there. He says Rina will catch him. If she doesn't, he will. Elias closes his eyes. His body sways. Forward, back, forward, back. He stands there swaying for 3 minutes. In the 4th minute, he falls backward. Rina catches him. She can't hold him. They both fall to the ground. Elias is lying on his back. Rina is lying beneath him, grumbling that he's heavy. Elias opens his eyes. He looks up at the sky, a crimson moon. He didn't crash. He was caught. He blinks, quickly, frequently. He looks away. The system beeps. Elias Crumb, trust +5. Current value, 24 out of 100. Reason, for the first time in his life, he fell and was caught. Rena Kane, trust +2. Current value, 40 out of 100. Reason, she felt she could protect someone. Sarah and Yuna, another story. Yuna closes her eyes right away. Without fear, she's a she-wolf. Wolves either trust the pack or trust no one. Yuna doesn't trust anyone. But she closes her eyes because she doesn't care. If she falls, she falls. She falls. Sarah catches her, gently, precisely. Her gloved hands wrap around Yuna's shoulders. For a second, Yuna lies in Sarah's arms. She opens her eyes, looks up at her from below. Sarah quickly lets go, steps back. Her cheeks darken, a demonic blush. Yuna sits down, looks at Sarah. Her nose twitches slightly, like a wolf's. She senses something she doesn't understand. The system beeps. Yuna Park, trust in Sarah +1. Sarah Morgante, trust in Yuna +1. Inter-student trust. A new parameter has been unlocked. Daniel sees the panel. Inter-student trust. He didn't know such a thing existed. The system adds an explanation. Class resonance depends not only on trust in the teacher, it depends on trust in one another. A team isn't 4 people who trust a single leader. A team is 4 people who trust each other. Daniel smirks. He knew that. He'd known it for 12 years. The system just confirmed it. Training continues. They switch partners. Rena with Sarah, Elias with Yuna. Each one falls, and each one is caught. By the end of the hour, all 4 are lying on the ground in the courtyard. Rena is breathing heavily. Elias can't get up. Sarah is sitting with her back against the wall. Yuna is lying on her back and, for the first time this morning, is truly asleep. Daniel is sitting nearby. He's silent. He doesn't rush them. He doesn't praise them. He doesn't criticize them. He just sits there. The morning sun rises above the academy walls. A crimson light falls across the courtyard. Elias shudders. The sun. His skin begins to redden. He covers his face with his hands. Daniel remembers. A scorbin. He gave Elias 1 pill on the first day. It ran out long ago. He needs more. He needs a steady supply. The system beeps. A hint. The Academy Library has a section on alchemy, a recipe for a sunscreen elixir for vampires. Section 7, Shelf 12. A book labeled Obsolete Recipes. Daniel memorizes it. The library. Section 7, Shelf 12. He stands up and says that training is over. He says to meet at the same time tomorrow. He says that in class today they'll be analyzing combat tactics in the arena. Not how to fight, how to think during a fight. Rena asks why think when you can just hit. Daniel says that whoever thinks during a fight strikes once. Whoever doesn't think strikes 10 times and misses 11. Rena opens her mouth, closes it. She thinks. She opens her mouth. She says that doesn't make sense because you can't miss 11 times if you strike 10 times. Daniel says that's exactly why you have to think. Rena falls silent. Then she snorts. But the corner of her mouth twitches, almost a smile. They go their separate ways. Daniel heads to the library, the Baal Nemrod Academy. The library occupies a separate building, 5 stories, each floor the size of a soccer field. The walls are bookshelves, books from floor to ceiling, scrolls, volumes, stone tablets, crystals with inscriptions, thousands of years of knowledge. Daniel walks in and freezes. He's a history teacher. Libraries are his element. If he could, he'd stay here for a month. But he has 25 days, and he needs just 1 book. Section 7, Shelf 12. He walks between the shelves. Alchemy. Section 7, Shelf 12. Obsolete Recipes. The book is thin, dusty. It has been opened in 50 years. He pulls it out and opens it. Sun Protection Elixir for Vampires. A 3rd century recipe. Ingredients. Moon dust, 3 grams. Blood of a night moth, 10 drops. 1 stalk of shadow fern root. 2 tablets of human vitamin C. Daniel reads it again. human vitamin C, an earthly vitamin, in a recipe for a demonic potion. 3,000 years ago, who knew about the connection between the worlds? Someone knew that human medicine works in the demonic world. He turns the page. There's a note on the back. The recipe was banned by the council in the year 412 of the Third Era. Reason: the use of human components in demonic alchemy is heresy. Author of the recipe: Baal Nemrod. Daniel freezes. Baal Nemrod, the Academy's founder, a demon teacher torn apart by the council 2,000 years ago for the heresy of teaching without fear. He closes the book. Baal Nemrod created a recipe using a human vitamin. Baal Nemrod believed in teaching without fear. Baal Nemrod founded the Academy, and the Academy drew Daniel in, a human, a teacher, a coincidence, or perhaps not. A voice behind him, quiet, soft. The voice says that this book was last opened 200 years ago. Daniel turns around. A woman, tall, dark hair down to her waist, 2 slender horns curved like crescents, violet eyes, deep, old. The eyes of a creature that has seen more than it is willing to remember. She looks 28. She is 380. Professor Lilith Kassar, the Academy's librarian. She is the only faculty member who greets him in the hallway. She says she knows which book he is looking for. She says the recipe works. She says moon dust can be found in the library basement. The root of the shadow fern grows behind the north wall. She can get the blood of the night moth herself. Daniel asks why she's helping. Lilith is silent. For a long time. Then she says that 200 years ago, she had a student. He believed that demons could be taught without fear. He was executed. Since then, she hasn't helped anyone. But Daniel reminded her of something. Daniel asks, what exactly? Lilith says he reminded her that she too was once a teacher, not just a librarian. She turns and walks away between the bookshelves. Her footsteps are quiet. She fades into the shadows of the library. The system beeps. New character. Lilith Kassar, 380 years old, professor, librarian. Trust in the host, 20 out of 100. Status, observer, hidden parameter. She knows more than she's saying. Daniel stands among the books. 25 days, 4 students, 1 recipe. 1 librarian who remembers a dead teacher. 1 piece of chalk erasing curses in her pocket. The system updates the panel. Class F13. Overall trust level, 86 out of 400. Class resonance, 18%. Days until the blood circle, 25. Expected lifespan of the carrier, 31 minutes. Progress, 24 days until the blood circle. Night. Daniel sits in the storage room and brews an elixir. Lilith brought the ingredients as promised. Moon dust in a glass flask, 3 grams. It glimmers silver in the darkness. The blood of a night moth in a small vial, thick, black. It smells of iron and honey. The root of a shadow fern, thin, pale. It writhes in his hands as if alive. Daniel cuts the root with a paper knife, the only sharp object in the study. His hands don't tremble. For 12 years, he cut paper with scissors to make 30 children's collages at once. His fine motor skills are perfect. He pours the moon dust into a teacup. He adds 10 drops of moth blood. He places the sliced root, the final ingredient, vitamin C, human. Kale Warren's last ascorbic acid went to Elias on the first day, but Daniel spent 3 hours in the library basement and found something. A dried-up lemon, a real earth lemon, petrified. It's about 2,000 years old. It was lying in a sealed box with an inscription, Founder's personal belongings. Do not touch. Daniel touched it. Baal Nemrod's lemon. Where did the founding demon get an earth lemon? He'll ask that question later. Right now, he's crumbling the dried pulp into a teapot. Vitamin C remains in dried citrus fruits for up to 50 years. This lemon is 2,000 years old, but it's from the Academy Founders box. Maybe magic preserved it, or maybe not. He stirs the mixture. The teapot is heating over a candle stub. The liquid changes color. Brown, green, blue, silver. The scent changes. Sulfur, honey, fresh grass after rain. Daniel has never brewed a potion before. He's a history teacher. He used to brew coffee in the teacher's lounge and heat up ramen in the microwave. But the recipe was written by Baal Nemrod, and the system is silent. It doesn't warn him. It doesn't flash red, so he must be doing it right. The liquid becomes clear, like water, but it glows from within, dimly, just a little. It's ready. Daniel pours the elixir into a vial that once held moth blood. Lilith left it clean. 1 vial, 1 dose. Enough for 3 months. It'll last until the end of the semester. Morning. Day 5. Daniel arrives for practice. 4 people are in the courtyard. The sun hasn't risen yet, but the horizon is turning pink. In 20 minutes, the first rays will pierce through the walls. Elias is standing by the wall, in the shade, as always. Daniel walks up to him. He holds out the vial. He says it's a sun protection elixir. He says the recipe is old, 2,000 years old. He says he needs to drink half of it now, the other half in a month. Elias looks at the vial. His hands are shaking. He asks what that means. Daniel says it means he can stand in the sun. Elias takes the vial with both hands. He presses it to his chest. His lips move, but no. He drinks half of it. He closes his eyes. He waits. The sun rises. The first ray falls into the courtyard. It touches the wall next to Elias. He doesn't move. The ray glides across the stone. Closer, closer. It touches his hand. Elias flinches. A reflex. An 8-year-old reflex. The sun equals pain. But there is no pain. The ray rests on his skin. Warm. Not burning. Just warm. Elias opens his eyes. He looks at his hand. Light on his pale skin. No burns. No blood. He raises his hand. He holds his palm up to the sun. His fingers stop trembling. For the first time in 8 years, his fingers stop trembling. He turns toward Daniel. His face is wet. He doesn't wipe away his tears. He smiles. The system beeps. Eli as Crumb. Trust plus 20. Current value 44 out of 100. Hidden stat updated. Sun allergy stat removed. New stat unlocked. Empathic blood. Class rare. Description: Elias's blood can not only consume, but also heal. Upon physical contact with a wounded ally, his blood seals wounds and neutralizes poisons. Restriction: only works on those Elias trusts. Rena looks at Elias in the sunlight. Her mouth is slightly open. She speaks softly. He stands in the sunlight, just standing there. Yuna opens both eyes. She looks at Elias, at Daniel. Her nose twitches. She senses something. Not the elixir, something else. Something she hasn't sensed before. Hope. Sarah, in her corner of the courtyard, presses her palm to her chest, where her dress covers her throat, where something aches beneath the fabric. Something she doesn't understand. Daniel claps his hands. He says the training is about to begin. Today there's a new exercise, the mirror. 2 people stand facing each other. One moves. The other repeats the movement. No words, no commands. Only their eyes. Only focus on their partner. Rena and Yuna. Elias and Sarah. Rena moves sharply, jerky. Quick swings of her arms. Twists. She's fighting a shadow. Yuna stands across from her. Her eyes are half closed. She doesn't copy her. Rena gets angry. She says Yuna isn't playing along. Yuna doesn't answer. Rena makes another sharp swing. Yuna copies her. Perfectly. Exactly. At that very moment, Rena freezes. She makes a different move. Yuna repeats it. In sync. As if she knew it all along. Rena speeds up. Yuna speeds up. Rena makes 3 moves in a row. Yuna repeats all 3. At the same time as her. Not after. At the same time. Rena stops. She's breathing heavily. She looks at Yuna. Yuna opens her eyes wide. For the first time ever, Daniel sees both of her eyes at the same time. Amber, wolf-like, deep. Yuna says that Rena moves like a puppy, chaotically, but there's a rhythm in the chaos. You just have to listen. Rena doesn't know how to respond to that. Elias and Sarah, another couple, another problem. Elias is afraid to move. He stands there, his hands trembling. They used to tremble more, now less so. But he doesn't know how to make the first move. His whole life has been about reacting, dodging, hiding, running away, never the first to act. Sarah stands across from him, waiting. She's used to waiting, waiting to be told what to do, where to go, what to do. The two wait for each other. Neither makes the first move. Daniel watches. He doesn't intervene. 1 minute, 2, 3. In the 4th minute, Elias raises his right hand, slowly, 10 centimeters. Sarah raises her right hand, 10 centimeters. Elias raises it higher. Sarah raises it higher. Elias takes a step forward. Sarah takes a step forward. They move slowly, carefully, like two creatures learning for the first time that someone nearby might not strike them. The system beeps. Inter-student trust. Elias to Sarah, +3. Sarah to Elias, +3. Rena to Yuna, +2. Yuna to Rena, +2. Great resonance, 24%. Training ends. The 4 of them sit on the ground. Daniel hands out tea from the teapot he brought with him. Hot. Just plain water. But it's hot. From the same teapot. Rena takes a sip and says that yesterday she played chess with Elias. Daniel raises an eyebrow. Rena says that Elias plays strangely. He doesn't attack. He builds a defense. Pawns in a wall. Knights behind the line. Rooks in the corners. Impossible to break through. She lost 3 times. Elias blushes. For a vampire, that means his skin becomes half a shade less white. He says quietly that he doesn't know how to attack, only how to defend. Daniel says a team needs someone who defends. Without a shield, a sword is useless. Elias looks at him. His eyes are wide. No one has ever told him before that defense is strength. The system beeps. Elias Crumb. Trust, +3. Current value, 47 out of 100. Daniel counts. 47, up to 53 points. 3 points is 1 moment. 1 right moment. He drinks tea from a chipped cup and looks at the 4 of them. 24 days. Resonance, 24%. We need 50. We need to double it in 3.5 weeks. Sarah is sitting against the wall. She's silent. Her hand rests on her throat, where the dress covers her skin. She's rubbing that spot, unconsciously, as if something were itching. Daniel notices. The system notices. Sarah Morgante, anomaly. Neck and upper back area, energy signature, unrecognized. Recommendation, observe. He observes. He doesn't ask. He doesn't pry. He observes. 12 years of teaching have taught him one thing. The most important thing a teacher can do is notice. Not correct, not cure, just notice. And be there when the student is ready to talk. Training is over. The day continues. Strategy lesson. Daniel draws a diagram of the blood circle arena on the board. A circle with a diameter of 100 meters. A stone floor. Walls 20 meters high. No exit. Fight until surrender or loss of consciousness. Killing is prohibited by the rules, but accidents happen. He draws 4 dots. His students. Redraws 4 dots opposite them. Class A. He says that Class A consists of 4 loners. Each is strong. Each is used to winning on their own. Carmel attacks head-on. His partner, Vihara, strikes from the flank. The 3rd, Garros, holds the line. The 4th, Nemes, casts magic from a distance. Standard tactics of the strong. Everyone does their own thing. No one covers another. No one needs cover. Daniel eliminates 1 member of Class A class. He says that if you remove 1 fighter from their lineup, the remaining 3 won't be any weaker. They won't even notice, because they aren't a team. They're 4 separate fighters. He wipes out 1 F-13. He says that if you remove 1 from his class, the rest will be weaker, because they are a team, and that's their weakness, and their strength. A weakness because 1 person dropping out disrupts the entire formation. A strength because as long as they're together, they empower each other. Resonance. Rena asks what the plan is. Daniel says, don't let them divide you. At any cost. Stand together, back to back. If 1 falls, another picks them up. If Carmel attacks, Yuna pulls him away with her speed. If Nemes shoots, Elias puts up a shield. If Vihara strikes from the flank, Rena intercepts. If Garros holds the barrier, Sarah looks for a weak spot. He looks at them. 4 faces, 4 pairs of eyes. For the first time, all 4 are looking at him at the same time. Yuna isn't asleep. Rina isn't swearing. Elias isn't trembling. Sarah isn't hiding in the corner. They're listening. The system updates the panel. Awesome resonance. 26%, 18 days until the blood circle. Daniel notices that Sarah didn't show up for morning training for the first time. She hadn't missed a single day. Even when acid rain fell and the courtyard was covered in steaming puddles, she stood in her corner and waited. Today, she's not here. Rina says she saw her last night in the hallway. Sarah was heading to her room, quickly. Her head was bowed, her hands were pressed against her throat. Yuna is silent, but her nostrils flare. She senses something. Daniel ends practice early. He tells Rina and Elias to work in pairs. He tells Yuna to rest. He goes to look for Sarah. The F-class dorm consists of 4 rooms in the basement. Each is 2 meters by 3, no windows. Sarah's door is closed. Daniel knocks. Silence. He knocks again. A quiet voice from behind the door tells him to leave. Daniel doesn't leave. He sits down on the floor in front of the door. He says he'll stay there. If she wants to talk, he'll listen. If she doesn't, he'll just sit there. Silence. 5 minutes. 10. 20. At the 23rd minute, the door opens. A crack. A narrow one. Sarah stands in the doorway. Her dress is buttoned up to her throat, as always. Gloves on her hands, as always. But her eyes are red. She's been crying. She says a messenger came to see her last night. From her father, the head of the fallen Morgante family. He sent a letter. The letter contained a single line. A 4th buyer has been found. The price is lower. Daniel listens. He doesn't interrupt. He doesn't flinch. He doesn't clench his fists, although he wants to. Sarah says she's been sold 3 times and returned 3 times. Each time she thought it was the end. Each time she was returned, and each time it was worse. Because a return means a defect, a defective product. She falls silent. She stands in the doorway. Her gloved hands clench the hem of her dress. Her knuckles are white beneath the fabric. Daniel gets up from the floor, slowly. He says one thing. He says that, as long as he is her teacher, no buyer will set foot in this academy. He says that this is not a promise, but a fact. Academy Bylaws, Article 31, Section 9. A student on the academy's premises is under the jurisdiction of the homeroom teacher. Any removal of a student without the homeroom teacher's consent constitutes a violation. Punishment, a fine and disciplinary proceedings. Sarah looks at him. For a long time. She says that the bylaws won't stop her father. Daniel says that the bylaws stopped Carmel. Sarah falls silent. He says one more thing. He says that Miss Morgante isn't a commodity. Miss Morgante is his student. And the value of his students isn't determined by a buyer. It's determined by the students themselves. Sarah stands in the doorway. Her lower lip trembles. She closes the door, quietly, without a slam. Daniel stands in the hallway. He waits. A minute later, a note appears under the door. A small scrap of paper, 1 word on it. Thank you. The system beeps. Sarah Morgante. Trust plus 10. Current value, 25 out of 100. Micro reaction. For the first time, she believed that protection was possible. Daniel puts the note in his breast pocket, next to the red pen. He walks back to the courtyard. Yuna is waiting for him in the hallway. She's standing against the wall. Her eyes are closed, but she isn't asleep. She says she can smell something from Sarah, a new scent. It appeared 3 days ago. It smells like... She falls silent, searching for the word. It smells like the sky. Daniel asks what she means by, "It smells like the sky." Yuna opens her eyes, looks at him, says she doesn't know. She's never been to the sky. But Sarah smells like something high up, pure, alien, not demonic. Daniel takes note. The system adds a note. Sarah Morgante. Scent. Celestial signature. Source. Upper back region. Hypothesis. Locked. He walks on. The courtyard. Rina and Elias are training. Rina attacks. Elias defends. They work without instructions, on their own. Rina strikes quickly, chaotically. No horns, no magic, just hands and feet and anger. Elias puts up blocks. They're crooked, weak, but he puts them up. His body moves. It doesn't tremble, it moves. Rena sweeps his legs. Elias falls. He's lying on his back. Rena reaches out her hand. He takes it. She helps him up. They continue. Daniel stands in the courtyard doorway and watches. The system beeps. Inter-student trust. Rena to Elias, +2. Elias to Rena, +2. He doesn't intervene. The best teacher is the one you don't notice when everything is working. Day 13 at the academy. After lunch, Daniel goes to the library. Lilith is sitting at her desk. Stacks of books surround her as tall as she is. She's reading 3 books at once. She opens one, reads a line, opens another, compares them, opens the third, nods. Daniel sits down across from her. He says he needs information about sealed wings. Lilith looks up. Her fingers freeze on the page. She asks which wings he means. Daniel says that something is happening in the back area of one of his students, something that smells like the sky. Lilith is silent for a long time. Her expression doesn't change, but her hands tremble slightly. She closes all 3 books. She stands up. She walks to the bookshelf in the far corner. She pulls out a thin book with a black cover. She places it in front of Daniel. She says it's the Register of the Sealed, a list of creatures whose abilities have been blocked by an external force. She says that what he's describing could be one of 2 things, either a succubus whose wings were sealed by a demonic ritual, or... She falls silent. Daniel waits. Lilith speaks softly. Or a half-breed with angelic wings, sealed at birth so that no one would find out. Daniel opens the book. The pages are yellowed. The text is small. He searches for the surname Morgante. He finds it. House Morgante, founded in the year 412 of the Third Era. The same year the council banned the Baal-Nemrod formula. A coincidence or not? An entry in the registry, Morgante, a record from 16 years ago. A female infant, mother unknown, father, head of the house. Special note, sealed by the cult of the Silent Father. Category, highest. Purpose, concealment of heritage. Daniel reads it again. The cult of the Silent Father. He doesn't know what it is, but the system knows. The system beeps. Attention! Keyword detected. The cult of the Silent Father, a sect within the highest aristocracy. Objective: to prepare vessels for the return of the first demon. Method: selection of children from the lower classes with sealed blood. Application: a ritual of awakening through pain. Threat level: high. Daniel closes the book. He looks at Lilith. Lilith looks at him. Her eyes are violet, deep, full of something that has been building up for 200 years. She says she knew. She says she suspected it from the very first day she saw the F-13 list. 4 students, each with a sealed legacy. Each one placed in the disposal class. Each one was supposed to die quietly. This is no accident. This is a selection process. The cult gathers such children, breaks them, waits. It uses them. Daniel asks what a vessel means. Lilith says a vessel is a body that's broken enough to accept another's will. The first demon cannot return to a living body, only to an empty one, a scorched one stripped of itself. For that, it needs a child who believes he's trash. Daniel stands up. The chair creaks across the stone floor. He understands now. Class F isn't some forgotten corner of the academy. It's a breeding ground, an incubator. The cult places children with special blood there. Valzerot's disposal system breaks them down. 20 years, 22 classes, 88 children. The cult sifted through them, searching for the perfect vessel. And now there are 4 sitting in his class. 4 children whom he fed tea, whom he taught chess, whom he caught when they fell. The cult is waiting for them to break. But Daniel is doing the opposite. He's mending them. He asks Lilith what to do. Lilith says there's only one way. If a student's trust reaches its peak, the seal will begin to crumble on its own, from the inside, because the seal is held together by emptiness, on the belief that no one needs you. If the student believes he is needed, the seal will crack. Daniel nods. He knew this. Not about the seals, not about magic, about children. A child who believes they are loved becomes invincible. That's not magic. That's pedagogy. He takes the book. Lilith doesn't object. The system beeps. Lilith Kassar. Trust +5. Current value 25 out of 100. Reason. He wasn't afraid of the truth. Daniel returns to his office. He puts the book in the cabinet. He sits down at the desk. He opens the journal. He looks at the 4 names. Elias Crumb, descendant of the vampire queen Lilith. Una Park, reincarnation of the first lunar beast. Sarah Morgante, half-breed with angelic wings. Rena Kane, horned one, a once-in-a-millennium power class. 4 children with power that could change the world, and all 4 think they're trash. The system updates the panel. Days until the blood circle, 18. Class resonance, 31%. Expected lifespan of the host, 34 minutes. 12 days until the blood circle. Evening. Daniel is holding his first class. Friday, that very time slot he fought to keep from being scrapped. The 4 of them are sitting in the classroom. A kettle on the table, 4 cups, hot water. Rena dragged some dried leaves in from somewhere. She says it's tea. It tastes like bark, but it's hot and served in a cup. It'll do. Daniel pours it out. He says that during homeroom, they can talk about anything, or stay silent. There are no rules, just one. What's said in this room stays in this room. Silence. Rena taps her fingers on the floor. Elias twirls an empty cup. Sarah stands by the wall, closer than on the first day, 3 steps closer. Una is lying on the floor. Her eyes are closed. 1 minute, 2. Rena says she has 7 sisters, all older, all with horns. She's the youngest, without horns. They've been beating her since she was 6, every evening. They said the horns would grow from the pain. Kane's oldest sister used an iron hammer on her head, on her forehead, right where the horns were supposed to grow. Rena says this in an even voice, without emotion, as if she were reciting her class schedule. She says she stopped sleeping alone when she was 6, because if she fell asleep alone, she'd wake up to a blow. So she slept in the storage room, between buckets and mops. They didn't look there. Daniel listens. He doesn't interrupt. He doesn't go, uh-huh. He doesn't say it's terrible. He just listens. Because a child who's talking about pain doesn't need to be told that it's terrible. He already knows that. He needs to be heard. Rena finishes. She's silent. Elias looks at her. His hands aren't shaking. He says quietly that his mother forced him to drink the blood of living servants starting when he was 4. He says he couldn't do it. It made him sick. He cried. His mother would lock him in a room with a servant and wouldn't let him out until he drank. He drank the blood of kitchen rats at night when no one was looking, and he hated himself for it, because a real vampire doesn't drink from rats. A real vampire takes what is rightfully his. He says he doesn't want to be a real vampire. He wants to be the kind of vampire who doesn't cause pain. Daniel says that kind of vampire is called a doctor. Elias looks at him. He doesn't understand. Daniel says that in his world, there are people who take blood from other people to save lives. They're called donors. Someone who takes blood to heal isn't a monster. He's a medic. Elias blinks. His lips tremble. But he isn't crying, he's smiling. A small, crooked smile. His first real one. The system beeps. Elias Crumb. Trust +3. Current value 50 out of 100. Threshold 50 reached. Ability activated. Blood pact. Description. Elias can create a shield from his own blood. Radius 10 meters. Durability depends on the number of allies inside the shield whom he trusts. With 4 allies, the durability equals that of an A-rank barrier. Restriction. Costs Elias 30% of his blood. Can be used again after 24 hours. Daniel sees the panel. First apprentice on the threshold of 50. First combat ability activated through conversation. Not through training, not through combat. Through the word doctor. Una is lying on the floor. Everyone thinks she's asleep. She isn't asleep. She speaks without opening her eyes. She says her clan calls her a traitor. She says all the wolves in her clan have black fur. Hers is white. The color white belongs to the Western Wolves clan, their enemies. She says that when she first shifted at 12 and everyone saw her white fur, her father said he wished she'd been born dead. From that day on, she was forbidden to shift. 5 years. She carries a foreign body every day, a human form, like a prison. She's tired of it, constantly, chronic exhaustion, because the wolf inside is tearing to get out, and she's holding it back, every second, every day. 5 years. That's why she sleeps, because it's easier to hold it back in her sleep. Silence. Rena looks at Yuna. Elias looks at Yuna. Sarah in the corner lowers her head. Daniel speaks softly. He asks when Yuna last slept as a wolf. Yuna opens her eyes. Both. Amber. Vertical pupils. She says it was 5 years ago. Daniel says that in this office she can sleep however she wants. Yuna looks at him for a long time. Then she closes her eyes. Her body relaxes. Her shoulders drop. Her arms stretch out. She falls asleep, truly, deeply. For the first time in 5 years, without suppression, her breathing becomes steady, deep. As she exhales, a quiet sound escapes her throat. Low, soft, almost a growl, almost a purr. A wolf's sound, the sound of a creature that feels safe. The system Z is flowing. Yuna Park, trust +8. Current value 23 out of 100. The chronic exhaustion stat is temporarily removed. Effect, recovery. For the next 12 hours, all of Yuna's stats are increased by 15%. Sarah is standing by the wall. Everyone has spoken, except for her. She remains silent. Her gloved fingers clench the hem of her dress. She isn't ready. Daniel doesn't pressure her. He doesn't look at her. He isn't waiting. He pours her some tea and sets the cup on the edge of the table, within arm's reach, as always. Sarah takes the cup. She drinks. She remains silent. That's normal. Soyeon was silent for 2 years. Sarah can stay silent for as long as she needs to. The homeroom period ends. Rena leaves first. At the door, she turns around. She says she'll bring real tea tomorrow, not bark. She knows where something that looks like mint grows behind the north wall. Elias leaves second. His hands aren't shaking, not at all. For the first time ever, his hands are completely still. Yuna is sleeping on the floor. Daniel doesn't wake her. He covers her with a blanket, the very one he found in the closet on the 3rd day. Thin, prickly, but warm. Sarah leaves last. She stops in the doorway. She doesn't turn around. She speaks softly. She says her real name isn't Sarah. At birth, her mother gave her a different name. Before her mother disappeared, before her father took her away and sold her to the Morgante house, her real name. She falls silent. She says she'll tell him later, when she's ready. She leaves. Daniel is sitting in his office. Yuna is sleeping on the floor. The teapot has gone cold. 4 cups sit on the table. The system displays a panel. Class F13, Elias Crumb, Trust Level 50. The blood contract ability is activated. Yuna Park, Trust 23. Sarah Morgante, Trust 25. Rena Kane, Trust 40. Total Trust Level, 138 out of 400. Class Resonance, 38%. Days until the blood circle, 12. Daniel looks at the numbers. 38%. 50 is needed for activation, 12 days. He finishes his tea from a chipped cup, cold, bitter, tastes like bark. But today, 4 children shared their pain for the first time. Not with him, with each other. They sat in the same room and listened to one another. 3 spoke. 1 remained silent, but stayed until the end. This is more than resonance, more than percentages. This is a family, the beginning of a family. The system adds a line. Teaching points, plus 50 pp. Reason, high-quality teaching scenario. Category, collective trauma disclosure in a safe environment. Class, supreme. A new item is available in the shop. School nurse's first aid kit. Cost, 80 pp. Current balance, 75 pp. 5 short. 5 again. Daniel snorts. The system is mocking him, or teaching him patience. 8 days until the bloody circle. Training every day, twice a day, morning and evening. Daniel sleeps no more than 4 hours. His body, that of Kale Vorn, is weak. 4 units of magic reserve. Human endurance in a demonic world. He feels his bones ache in the mornings. His head spin by evening. His hands go numb at night as he sits with his journal and plans for tomorrow. But he doesn't stop. He had a September like this back in 2019. 3 students on the verge of expulsion. 1 on police record. Parent-teacher conferences every evening. 3 hours of sleep. He got through it then. He'll get through it now, too. The class is changing. He sees it every day. Rina no longer lashes out at everyone. She thinks things through. Before responding rudely, she counts to 3, sometimes to 2, sometimes to 1, but she counts. That's progress. Elias no longer trembles. His hands are steady. He stands in the sun every morning for 10 minutes. He just stands there. He turns his face toward the light. He closes his eyes and smiles. A small, crooked smile. Yuna wakes up during training. Not right away, but by the middle of the warm-up, she opens both eyes and starts moving, quickly, powerfully. Her body remembers what her mind forbids. The she-wolf inside her awakens for seconds, for fleeting moments. Her muscles tense, her pupils narrow to slits. Then she pushes it back down. But each time, the she-wolf is closer to the surface. Sarah. Sarah comes to every practice, every lesson, every homeroom period. She hasn't missed a single day since that morning at the door. She's silent, but she's there. She took off her gloves. On the 6th day after homeroom, she came to practice without gloves. No one said anything. Daniel noticed and said nothing. Rina noticed and said nothing. Elias noticed and smiled. Yuna didn't notice because she was asleep, or pretending to be. The system recorded it. Sarah Morgante, trust +5 for taking off her gloves. Current value, 32 out of 100. The 20 threshold was previously exceeded. Hidden stat unlocked. Voice of comfort. Class, rare. Description. Sarah's voice can remove negative status effects from allies. Fear, panic, rage, despair. 1 target ally at a time. Duration, 30 seconds. Restriction. Works only if Sarah sincerely wants to help, not on command. Training. 8 days until the circle. Daniel changes the format. No more trust exercises. Combat sparring. 2 against 2. Rina and Yuna against Elias and Sarah. Rina attacks. Yuna covers the flank. Elias sets up a defense. Sarah looks for openings. They move. Jerky. Off-kilter. Not perfect. Rina charges forward too quickly. Yuna is lagging behind because she's holding back the she-wolf. Elias blocks too wide. Sarah is too cautious. But they're moving together. Not perfect, but together. Rina makes a dash. She gets around Elias on the left. Elias turns around. He's too late. Rina is already behind him. But Sarah takes a step to the right and intercepts. Her hand touches Rina's shoulder, gently, precisely, redirecting her. Rina, carried by momentum, passes by. She misses. She stops. She looks at Sarah. Sarah looks at Rina. For the first time, one has stopped the other not with force, but with positioning. The system beeps. Inter-student trust. Rina to Sarah, +3. Sarah to Rina, +3. Great resonance, 44%, 6% to the threshold. Daniel counts the days. 8. 6% in 8 days. Less than 1% a day. But every percentage point is a moment. Every moment is a choice. A choice to trust the one beside you. Day, night, training, class time. The days blur together. Rina brings some herbs from behind the wall. It really does look like mint. Bitter, but green and smelling fresh. Daniel brews it. The first real tea in room F13. Elias makes a shelf for the cups. Out of the pieces of a broken chair. It's crooked. It wobbles. But it holds 4 cups. Sarah brings a candle. Not a purple one. A white one. She found it in the library. Lilith gave it to her. The office smells of mint and wax. Yuna brings another deer. Daniel isn't surprised anymore. 5 days until the circle. Night. Daniel sits in the office and checks the panel. Elias, 50. Yuna, 28. Sarah, 32. Rina, 44. Class resonance, 46%. 4% to the threshold. A knock on the door. Quiet, cautious. Daniel opens it. Sarah. She's standing in the hallway. Her dress is buttoned all the way up to her neck, but she's not wearing gloves. Her hands are bare, slender, pale, thin white scars on her wrists, old ones. She doesn't hide them. Daniel doesn't look at them. He looks into her eyes. Sarah says she wants to tell him something. She says that if they all die tomorrow, she wants someone to know. Daniel lets her in. She sits down in Elias's chair, that very one, the only one left intact. Daniel sits down at the table. He pours tea, mint, hot. He holds it out at arm's length, as always. Sarah takes it. She drinks. Her hands don't tremble. She says her real name is Seraphina. Her mother named her that at birth. Her mother wasn't a demon. Her mother was a guardian of heaven, an angel who fell during the first descent, wounded, dying. The head of House Morgante found her on the battlefield. He took her in, not out of mercy, out of calculation. Angelic blood in a demonic child is a weapon. Her mother died in childbirth. Her father sealed her wings with the help of the cult of the Silent Father. He peddled the story that his daughter was a wingless succubus, defective. No one suspected a thing. He sold her 3 times. 3 times the buyers returned her, not because she was defective, because every time a buyer touched her, the seal on her back reacted. Heat, light, pain. The buyers thought she was cursed. She isn't cursed. She's an angel, half an angel. Sarah, Seraphina. She falls silent. Her hands rest on her knees, bare, scarred. She isn't crying. She stopped crying a long time ago. Daniel is silent. Then he says one thing. He says that Miss Seraphina is a beautiful name. Sarah looks at him. Her eyes shine. Not tears, light from within. Something inside her responds to that name, to the fact that someone said it out loud. For the first time in 16 years, someone called her by her real name. The system beeps. Sarah Morgante. Trust plus 15. Current value 47 out of 100. Anomaly in the back region. Activity has increased by 300%. The signal is unstable. She stands up, walks toward the door, stops, doesn't turn around. Says that after the circle she'll tell the others, if she survives. Daniel says she'll survive. All 4 of them will survive. Sarah stands with her back to him. Her shoulders tremble slightly. Between her shoulder blades, beneath the fabric of her dress, something is moving. Just a little. A shadow of movement. She leaves. Daniel sits in his office. The system refreshes the panel. Great resonance. 48%. 2% to the threshold. 2%. It's a single moment. One right moment. 5 days. He finishes his tea. Cold. Minty. He sets the cup next to the 4 others on Elias's crooked shelf. 5 cups. 4 students. 1 teacher. 1 storage room turned classroom with a purple ceiling. 1 teapot. 1 team. The system adds a line. Teaching points. Plus 25 pp. Current balance. 100 pp. The school nurse's first aid kit is available for purchase. Cost. 80 pp. Daniel buys it. Item obtained. School nurse's first aid kit. Class. Rare. Effect. Removes any poison and heals any wound if the patient is under 200 years old. Restriction. 3 uses. Cooldown. 7 days. He places the first aid kit in the desk next to the curse-erasing chalk. 2 items. Chalk and first aid kit. Not a sword or a shield. Chalk and first aid kit. The teacher's weapons. 1 day before the bloody circle. Morning. The final training session. Daniel stands in the courtyard and looks at the 4 of them. They stand before him, shoulder to shoulder. Rena on the left, Yuna next to her, Elias on the right, Sarah between Yuna and Elias. 4 of them. Not 4 loners. 4 people who know who stands beside them. Daniel isn't leading the training session. He says today is a day off. Rena asks what kind of day off there is before a fight. Daniel says the best preparation for a fight is rest. The body must be fresh. The mind must be clear. The hands must be steady. Rena snorts, but she doesn't argue. She trusts him. The system isn't beeping. Trust has been growing quietly for a long time. No beeps. Daniel invites them into his office. A teapot on the table. Mint tea. 5 cups on a crooked shelf. A white candle is burning. The office smells of mint and wax and something violet drifting down from the ceiling. They sit. They drink tea. Rina is on the floor with her legs crossed. Yuna is next to her, leaning against the wall. Her eyes are closed, but she isn't asleep. She's listening. Elias is in a chair, his back straight, his hands on his knees, calm. Sarah is by the wall, closer than ever, within arm's reach of Yuna. Daniel is sitting at the table. He says he wants to tell them something. 4 pairs of eyes. He says that in his world, in the place he came from, there were also children who had been abandoned. He taught them for 12 years. And every time a new child came into his class with empty eyes and clenched fists, he thought the same thing. This child isn't bad. This child is lonely. He says that on the first day, when he opened the class register and saw 4 names marked coward, dangerous, defective, and horns, he crossed out those words with a red pen. And he was right, because Elias isn't a coward. Elias is the one who stands between a friend and a blow. Because Yuna isn't dangerous. Yuna is the one who brings food to the doorstep and falls asleep only next to those she trusts. Because Sarah isn't defective. Sarah is the one who stays when everyone else leaves and who says thank you with a note under the door. Because Rina isn't hornless. Rina is the one who fights, not for herself, but for those who are weaker. Silence. Absolute. Rina lowers her head. Her shoulders tremble. She isn't crying. She never cries, but her shoulders are trembling. Elias clutches his cup with both hands. His lips are pressed into a thin line. He's breathing deeply, steadily. He's keeping himself under control. Yuna is lying against the wall. Her eyes are closed, but moisture glistens beneath her lashes. A wolf's pride. She won't show it, but she hears. Sarah stands by the wall. Her hand rests on her chest, where something aches beneath her dress, something warm, something alive. Her lips move, silently. She repeats her name, Serafina. The system beeps. Rina Kane, trust +8. Current value 52 out of 100. Threshold of 50 exceeded. Ability unlocked. Inner horn. Class. Legendary. Description. Rina's horns grow inside her skull. When activated, the inner horn generates a destructive pulse. A single strike capable of piercing an S-rank barrier. Restriction. 1 strike per battle. After use, Rina loses consciousness for 60 seconds. Cooldown. 48 hours. The system beeps again. Yuna Park. Trust +5. Current value 33 out of 100. Sarah Morgante. Trust P +3. Current value 50 out of 100. Threshold of 50 exceeded. Effect. The mark on her back is unstable. A crack. The first white feather appears. Daniel sees it. A feather. White. Delicate. It appears on Sarah's neck, above the collar of her dress. Small. Like a feather. Sarah feels it. Her hand twitches toward her neck. It touches the feather. Her eyes widen. She looks at her fingers. White fuzz on the tips. She doesn't understand. Or perhaps she understands all too well. Daniel stands up. He approaches. Within arm's reach, as always. He says that whatever it is, Miss Serafina, it's hers. It belongs to her. Not to the seal. Not to the cult. Not to her father. To her. Sarah looks at him. The feather on her neck twitches slightly, as if it were alive. Her eyes are moist. For the first time in a long time, she doesn't wipe them away. She lets them be. The system refreshes the panel. Class resonance, 50%. Threshold reached. Class resonance active. The effect. When all 4 F13 students fight for their teacher or for each other, all stats are multiplied by 200%. Does not work if they fight out of fear or on orders. Daniel looks at the panel. 50% reached. Not in the arena, not in battle. In the storage room, over tea, over a conversation. He drinks from a chipped cup. The day is ending. Evening. The 4 leave. Daniel stays in the office. Alone. A candle burns. He sits at the table and looks at the journal. 4 names. Red, crossed out marks. 4. Written in his own hand on the first night. Tomorrow, the arena. Tomorrow, 20,000 spectators. 4 of his students against 4 members of the A-class elite. Carmel, Vihara, Garros, Nemesis, 3 horns, 2 horns, wings, magic, hundreds of reserve units. Against Elias, who smiled in the sun for the first time a week ago. Against Yuna, who hasn't truly slept in 5 years. Against Sarah, on whose neck the first white feather is growing. Against Rena, whose horns are growing inward toward her skull. 4 children whom the world has written off as trash. Daniel closes the journal. The odds are 1 to 4,000. The rector signed the expected disposal form. 4 out of 4. Valzerat is waiting for his signature on the disposal documents. The whole world is waiting for them to die. Daniel blows out the candle. He lies down on the office floor. The ceiling oozes purple, just like on the first day. He closes his eyes. Tomorrow his students will enter the arena. He won't be able to go with them. A teacher doesn't fight. A teacher stands in the stands and watches. All he can do is believe. He falls asleep. In the darkness, the system panel flashes one last time. Class F-13. Status. Ready for battle. Class resonance. 50%. Active. Days until the blood circle. 1. Bookmaker's odds. 1 to 4,000. Expected lifespan of the carrier. 47 minutes. Progress. The day of the blood circle. Morning. The arena. 20,000 spectators fill the stone stands. The roar of voices is like the surf. A crimson sky overhead. Clan flags fluttering in the wind. Gold, black, scarlet. Daniel stands at the entrance to the understand area. 4 people stand before him. Rena is bouncing up and down on the spot. Nervously, quickly. Her fists are clenched. Elias stands calmly. For the first time, he's calm in front of the crowd. His hands aren't shaking. Yuna is leaning against the wall. Her eyes are closed. She isn't asleep. She's waiting. Sarah stands up straight. No gloves. Her hands are at her sides. A white feather under her collar twitches slightly. Daniel looks at them. The 4 of them. 30 days ago, they were 4 lines in a logbook marked, recommended for disposal. Now they're a team. He says one sentence. He tells them to remember. They aren't fighting for him. They're fighting for the one standing beside them. Rena nods. Elias nods. Sarah tilts her head slightly. Yuna opens her eyes. Both of them. Amber. Vertical pupils. A horn blares. The signal to enter. The 4 head toward the arena. Daniel climbs onto the podium. The faculty box. He is the only teacher without horns, without wings, in a worn jacket with a hole in the elbow. The professors look at him, some with contempt, some with curiosity. One gaze is heavier than the rest. Valzerat. 4 horns, yellow eyes. He's sitting in the front row, looking at Daniel, nodding, barely noticeable, as if to say, I'm waiting. Lilith sits down next to Daniel, quietly. Without a word, she places her hands on her knees. Her fingers tremble. She hasn't watched the tournament in 200 years, not since her student was executed. Today she has come. The arena, a circle 100 meters in diameter, a stone floor, walls 20 meters high, 20,000 faces in the stands. 4 F-13s emerge from the eastern gates, 4 A-class fighters from the western gates. Carmel leads the way, 3 horns, a golden mantle. Behind him is Vihara, 2 pairs of wings, battle stance, Gyros, massive, broad, hands covered in scales. Nemesis, slender, tall, his fingers glow with a pet. Carmel's reserve, 380 units. Vihara's, 290. Gyros's, 350. Nemesis's, 310. Total A-class reserve, 1,330 units. Total F-13 reserve, Elias, 45. Yuna, 60. Sarah, 35. Rena, 20. Total, 160. The ratio is 1 to 8, but F-13 has resonance, 200% to all stats. This raises their effective reserve to 320. The ratio is now 1 to 4. Still not in their favor, but it's not a death sentence. Battle. The horn sounds a second time. The fight begins. Carmel attacks first, as always, just as Daniel predicted, head on, a direct magical strike. A beam of dark energy flies toward the center of the F-13 group. Elias takes a step forward, raises his hands, bites his own wrist. Blood flows, scarlet, bright. It doesn't fall to the ground. It disperses into the air. It forms a dome, a red, translucent shield, the blood pact. Carmel's beam strikes the shield. A flash, a crash. The shield cracks, but it holds. Elias stands. His feet are pressed into the stone. His arms are raised. Blood flows down his forearms, but the shield holds. The stands fall silent. 20,000 throats stop breathing. Elias Crumb, an F-class vampire, a coward, the very same one who threw up blood during the first lesson. He just blocked an A-rank attack. Nemesis fires. 3 magic projectiles from the flank, fast, precise. Counting on the fact that Elias's shield is frontal, the projectiles fly around it. Yuna moves. Instantly, her body blurs, speed beyond perception. She intercepts the first projectile with her palm. She deflects the second with her elbow. The third flies past. Yuna stands still. Her hair is disheveled. Her eyes are amber. Her pupils are vertical. She hasn't transformed. But the she-wolf is close. So close that the air around her trembles. Vihara attacks from above. 4 wings. She dives towards Sarah. Her claws are extended. Sarah doesn't move. She opens her mouth and sings. No, she doesn't sing. She speaks. One word. Quiet. Soft. A word that only Vihara can hear. The voice of comfort. Vihara freezes in midair. Her wings lose their rhythm. Her eyes glaze over for a second. For 1 second, she forgets why she's attacking. That second is enough. Rena leaps. From below, upward. Small. No horns. No magic. Just her body, her anger, and her love for those behind her. She grabs Vihara by the ankle and pulls her down. Vihara crashes onto the arena floor. The stone cracks beneath her. Rena lands beside her, on her feet, breathing heavily. She smiles, maliciously, happily. The stands erupt. Noise. Shouts. 20,000 voices. Class F-13 stands. All 4 of them. The first minute of the fight. No one is injured. No one has fallen. Carmel looks at them. His smile fades. For the first time, Garros steps forward. His body is covered in scales. A complete transformation. 3 meters tall. Arms like logs. He advances on the F-13 like a wall. Every step leaves a crack in the stone. Elias holds his shield. Garros strikes the shield. 1 blow. The shield cracks. A second blow. The shield shatters. Elias is sent flying backward. Blood gushes from his nose. He falls onto his back. He lies there. He doesn't move. The stands hold their breath. Someone laughs. That's it. The coward has cracked. Rena screams his name. She runs toward him. Sarah runs toward him. Eunice stands still. She closes her eyes. Garros walks on, toward the fallen Elias, to finish him off. Yuna opens her eyes, amber-colored. Her pupils are perfectly vertical. She stops applying pressure. For the first time in 5 years. A transformation. Instantaneous. Complete. Her body breaks apart and reassembles itself. Bones crack. Muscles rearrange themselves. Her skin is covered in fur. White. Blindingly white. A she-wolf. 2 meters at the withers. White as moonlight. Eyes like molten amber. 20,000 spectators fall silent. Absolute silence. A white she-wolf. A sacred color. A legend. A myth. Yuna stands between Garros and Elias, her white fur bristling, fangs bared. A low growl that makes the stone floor vibrate. Garros stops. Instinct. An ancient instinct that says, don't touch her. The system beeps. Yuna Park. Full transformation. Speed, 1,200. Strength, 800. Stamina, 600. Class resonance active. Multiplier, 200%. Effective speed, 2,400. Effective strength, 1,600. Carmel looks at the white she-wolf. His face pales. He pulls an artifact from under his cloak, small, black, bearing the Divis clan crest, a forbidden artifact. Daniel, in the stands, sees this. The system issues a warning. Attention! A Class A artifact has been detected. Type, enhancement. Effect, temporarily triples the bearer's magic reserve. Side effect, loss of control. The artifact is prohibited by the rules of the Blood Circle. Article 14, Section 2. Daniel stands up. He screams. His voice is drowned out by 20,000 others. No one hears him. Carmel activates the artifact. The artifact flares black. Carmel screams, not from pain, from power. His body expands. His muscles swell. 3 horns on his forehead begin to glow, scarlet, dark. His magic reserve skyrockets, 380, 760, 1,140, tripled. His eyes turn completely black, no pupils, no whites, 2 black voids. He has lost control. The artifact has devoured his mind and replaced it with pure rage. Daniel, in the stands, grips the railing. His knuckles turn white. He sees a 17-year-old boy whom his own clan has pumped full of a combat drug for the sake of victory over 4 children. Carmel strikes. He doesn't aim. He just strikes. A wave of black energy radiates from his body, in all directions. Nemes and Vihara are flung against the walls. He tossed his own people aside like trash. Garros anchors his scales to the floor and holds his ground, but is still knocked back 10 meters. The wave surges toward F-13. Yuna leaps. White lightning. She grabs Rena by the collar with her teeth and drags her aside. Sarah rushes toward Elias. She grabs his arm. She pulls him aside. She's too late. The wave engulfs them both. A flash. Smoke. The arena's stone cracks like glass. Daniel clings to the railing. He's not breathing. The smoke clears. Elias and Sarah lie on the ground, alive. Sarah shielded Elias with her body. Her back is burned. Her dress is torn from her shoulder to her waist. And on her back, between her shoulder blades, a crack. The black line of the mark spreads like ice in spring. Light breaks through the crack. White, pure, not demonic. White feathers. 3, 5, 12. They emerge from beneath her skin. They grow, slowly, but they grow. 20,000 spectators see this. 20,000 take a breath at the same time. White feathers on the succubus's back. Angelic wings. Sarah drops to her knees. Her face is contorted with pain. Her back is on fire. The feathers are sprouting through the seal, and each feather feels like a knife from within. She screams, silently. Her mouth is open. Her eyes are shut tight. Elias stirs beneath her. He bites his own palm. Blood flows. He presses his bloodied hand against Sarah's back. Empathetic blood, healing, red on white. A vampire's blood on an angel's feathers. The pain recedes. Sarah opens her eyes. She looks at Elias. He looks at her, pale, bloodied, but his hands aren't shaking. He holds on. Carmel strikes again, blindly, furiously. A pillar of black energy flies straight at them. Yuna throws herself in the way, a white she-wolf in mid-leap. She strikes Carmel with her entire body, 1,600 units of power with resonance. Carmel is sent flying. He crashes into the arena wall. The wall cracks. He gets to his feet. The artifact pulses around his neck. Black veins spread out from him across his skin. The boy inside is drowning. Only the weapon remains. Daniel sees this from the stands. He sees Carmel cease to be human, a demon, anything at all. He becomes simply a killing machine. Daniel knows what this is. He saw this in Busan. Not magic, not artifacts. A boy pumped full of drugs. A boy whose father beat him every night until he stopped feeling anything. Carmel is not the enemy. Carmel is a victim, just like his students, only on the other side of the wall. Rena stands in the arena. She looks at Carmel, small, hornless. Her body is covered in dust and scratches. She sees Carmel raise his hands for the next blow. She sees black veins crawling across his face. She sees how empty his eyes are. She knows that look. Her older sister used to look just like that. Before every blow of the hammer, empty eyes, not anger, emptiness. Rena clenches her fists. She feels something in her head, pressure, from the inside, horns. The very ones that never grew on the outside. They're inside. They've always been inside. The inner horn. She closes her eyes. The pressure builds. It's as if a bell is ringing in her head. One blow, one chance. After that, she'll lose consciousness for 60 seconds. If she misses, Carmel will kill her. He'll kill everyone. She opens her eyes. She looks at Carmel. He raises his hands. Black energy concentrates between his palms. The final blow, one that will level half the arena. Rena runs toward him, small, without horns, without magic, without wings, with 200% resonance and a horn inside her skull. Carmel strikes. A black beam flies toward her. Yuna appears from the side, white lightning. She grabs Rena by the waist and throws her upward, over the beam. Rena flies. She somersaults through the air. The beam passes beneath her. It sears the soles of her feet. It misses. She lands on top of Carmel. At the last moment, she activates her inner horn, a pulse, invisible, silent, like a blow from the void. It passes through the artifact around Carmel's neck. The artifact shatters. Shards fly everywhere. The black veins on Carmel's skin disappear. His eyes return to normal, yellow, frightened. He sees Rena, a little girl who falls on top of him from above. He manages to catch her, a reflex. They both crash onto the rock. Rena is unconscious. Carmel holds her. His hands are shaking. He doesn't understand what happened. He doesn't understand where he is, what he was doing. The artifact has erased the last 10 minutes of his memory. He looks at his hands, covered in black ash from the artifact, and at the little girl without horns in his arms. Silence. The arena is silent. 20,000 spectators are silent. In the arena are 4 members of F-13. Elias is sitting on a rock. Blood is flowing from a wound his wounded palm. Sarah is beside him. 23 white feathers adorn her back. Incomplete wings. Buds, but white, angelic. Yuna stands in the center of the arena, a white she-wolf, 2 meters at the withers. She's breathing heavily. Her fur is covered in dust and blood, but she stands. Rena lies unconscious in Carmel's arms. Vihara and Nemes are by the walls, stunned by the blow to their own leader. Garros sits on the floor. His scales are flaking off. He's in shock. The horn blares. The referee steps into the arena. He announces, Class A. 3 fighters are incapacitated. 1 has surrendered. The score. F-13 wins. 4-0. Silence. 1 second. 2, 3. Then a sound. Not a shout. Not applause. A thud. A pair of feet on the stone stands. Daniel watches. Lilith Kassar rises from her seat, slowly. Her eyes are filled with tears. She stands, alone among those seated. Another female professor stands up beside her. Then a third, a fourth. One after another. The faculty box rises to its feet. 12, 20, 30. The entire box, standing, in silence, looking down, at the 4 children, at Class F-13, at the trash, which has just crushed the elite. Daniel stands among them. In a worn jacket with a hole in the elbow, his cheeks are wet. He's crying. For the first time in 2 years since the death, the system beeps. Victory. F-13. The bloody circle is complete. Teaching points. Plus 300 PP. Reward. Chalk that erases curses. 2nd copy. Overall class trust level. 214 out of 400. Class resonance. 56%. Expected lifespan of the host. Recalculating. 3 years, 47 days. After the arena. The storage room. Daniel puts the kettle on. His hands are shaking. Not from fear, from what has happened. From the fact that they're alive. All 4 of them. Rena regained consciousness 3 minutes after the fight. She opened her eyes. She saw Carmel, who was still holding her. She told him he was breathing heavily and that he needed water. Carmel let her go and walked away without saying a word. His back was covered in black ash from the artifact. His 3 horns weren't glowing. They had dimmed. It was as if something inside him had gone out, or awakened. Now there are 4 of them in the office. Elias is sitting in a chair. His hand is bandaged. Daniel used the school nurse's first aid kit. The wound closed in a second. Smooth skin. Not even a scar. Yuna is lying on the floor, in human form. The transformation drained almost all her strength. She's sleeping, truly, deeply, without suppression. Rena is sitting next to her, legs crossed. Her head is bowed. She is silent. For the first time ever, Rena is silent not because she's angry, but because she doesn't know the words for what she's feeling. Sarah is standing by the wall, her back to the stone. White feathers cover her neck and shoulders. 23. She isn't hiding them. She can't. Her dress is torn. Daniel took off his jacket and draped it over her shoulders. That very one. The one with the hole in the elbow. She wraps herself in it and says nothing. The kettle is boiling. Daniel pours the tea. Mint tea. 5 cups. 5. Not 4. He pours a 5th and sets it on the table. For himself. It's cracked. As always. They drink in silence. A minute. 2. 5. Rena speaks softly. She says they won. Elias nods. Sarah nods. Yuna is asleep. Rena says that Sonsanim was crying in the stands. She saw it. Daniel doesn't deny it. He says he was crying. Rena asks why. Daniel says it's because they're alive. Rena lowers her head. Her shoulders shake. She wraps her arms around him from behind. Her hands are around his waist. Her forehead is pressed against his back. She speaks softly. She asks if he knows that he's crazy. Daniel says he knows. Rena doesn't let go. Her shoulders are shaking. She's crying. For the first time in front of him. For the first time in front of anyone. The system beeps softly. Rena Kane. Trust +8. Current value 60 out of 100. Elias looks at them. His eyes are shining. He isn't crying. He's smiling. That same tiny, crooked smile, but wider, just a little wider. Sarah, in Daniel's jacket, presses the fabric against her face. The jacket smells of mint and chalk and something human, something warm. She closes her eyes. The feathers on her back stir beneath the fabric. Warmth. The door swings open, without a knock. A woman stands in the doorway, tall, thin, black uniform, a silver insignia on her chest. Her eyes are gray, cold, like a winter lake. Her hair is pulled back into a tight bun, a sword at her belt, gloves on her hands. Behind her are 2 others in the same uniform. Roxana Vale, Chief Inquisitor of the Council of 12, 26 years old, 400 documented executions of heretical teachers. She places the warrant on the table, the council's seal, red wax. She looks at Daniel. She says his name, Daniel So. Then she corrects herself, or Kale Warren. She says that they both know there is no demonic soul in this body. The class steps between her and Daniel, instantly, without a word, without a command. Rena clenches her fists. Yuna wakes up. She sits up. Her eyes are amber. Her pupils are vertical. A growl. Low, quiet, dangerous. Elias takes a step forward. His hands are steady. He's ready to bite through his wrist again. Sarah unbuttons her jacket collar. A white feather rests on her neck. The crack from the mark is visible. Roxana looks at them, at the 4 children shielding their teacher. Her expression doesn't change, but her eyes. For a split second, something flashes, something old, something painful. She pulls a photograph from her bosom, a small one, a worn one. It shows a girl, about 12 years old, in an F-class uniform, very much like Rena. The same eyes, the same stubborn chin, the same defiance in her gaze. Roxana's younger sister, an F-class student 20 years ago. She died in the arena. Roxana places the photograph next to the warrant. She speaks softly. Before she arrests him, let him answer one question. How did he do it? Silence. Daniel looks at the photograph, at the girl, at Roxana, at the warrant bearing the council's seal. He says he'll pour her some tea. Roxana freezes. Her eyebrows rise slightly, the only emotion on her icy face. Daniel pours tea into the sixth cup, the one that isn't there. He takes his own cracked cup and pours into it. He hands his own cup to Roxana, holding it at arm's length, just as he did with Sarah on the first day. Roxana looks at the cup, then at the 4 children standing in a line in front of their teacher, then at the photograph of her dead sister. She doesn't take the cup. She turns away. She leaves. The warrant remains on the table. So does the photograph. She stops in the doorway. She doesn't turn back. She says he has 60 days until his hearing before the council. She says she'll be leading the investigation. She says that if he tries to run, she'll find him within a day. She leaves. 2 men in uniform follow her. Silence. Rena picks up the photograph. She looks at the girl. She says she looks like her. Daniel nods. The system beeps. Roxana Vale, registered. Trust rating, -30. Status, enemy. Hidden parameter. She's looking for something. Not Daniel, something else. 60 days. A new timer. Daniel looks at the warrant on the table. A red seal. A red pen in his pocket. 2 shades of red. One passes judgment. The other crosses out the sentences. 60 days. Daniel doesn't run. He teaches every day. Morning workout, lessons, homeroom, tea, repeat. Roxana Vale arrives on the 3rd day after the arena, not with a warrant, not in an inquisitor's uniform, in ordinary clothes. She sits at the back of the classroom, silently. She observes. Daniel doesn't send her away. He doesn't comment. He pours her some tea. He sets it on the edge of the table, within arm's reach. She doesn't take it. She doesn't take it for 3 days in a row. On the 4th day, she takes it. She drinks it. She doesn't say a word. She watches the lesson. She watches as Daniel explains the principle of blood donation to Elias. How blood can be donated voluntarily to save someone else's life. How, in his world, millions of people donate blood to strangers. Just like that, without payment, without coercion. Elias listens. His eyes are wide. He didn't know that happened. Roxana listens. Her face is expressionless, but her fingers on the cup tremble slightly. The days go by. Roxana comes every day. She sits in the corner. She observes. She takes notes in her notebook. Sometimes she writes nothing down. She just watches. On the 20th day, she brings Elias a folder, a thick one, with the council's seal. She says it's his mother's case, Baroness Crumb. Documents regarding the force-feeding of the minor heir. 16 witness statements from servants. Evidence of abuse. Elias takes the folder. His hands don't tremble. He opens it, reads, closes it, looks at Roxana, says, "Thank you," quietly, sincerely. Roxana nods, leaves. At the door, she lingers for a second longer than necessary. The system beeps. Roxana Vale, trust, -10. Growth of 20 points from -30. Status, neutral observer. Days go by. 30th, 40th, 50th. Class F13 is officially recognized as experimental under the Council's supervision. The first recognition. Not a victory, not a triumph, just a line in the registry, but a line that speaks volumes. They exist. They are legitimate. They have a right to be. Valzerat files an appeal, demands their disbandment. Daniel prepares his defense, not with a sword, not with magic, with paperwork, with articles of the charter, with precedents. He spends his nights in the library with Lilith. She fetches books for him, old ones, dusty ones, forgotten ones, precedents from 300 years ago, council decisions that no one remembers. Daniel reads, memorizes, constructs his argument, just like at a faculty meeting, just like at a committee meeting on the protection of troubled teenagers. The same principles, different words, the same essence. A child has the right to an education. A child has the right to protection. A child has the right to exist. Day 55. Night. A knock on the office door. Roxana. No uniform. No notebook. She's standing in the hallway. Her hair is down. For the first time. Long. Dark. She looks younger. She looks her 26 years. She says she's found something. She says she dug deep. She dug for 30 days. In the Inquisition's archives. In sealed files. She says the cult of the Silent Father exists. She says it's inside the council. 3 of the 12 council members belong to the cult. She says that Valzarat didn't just create the disposal system out of ideology. He created it on the cult's orders. For 20 years, the F-class was a conveyor belt. They selected children with sealed blood. They broke them down. They prepared vessels for the first demon. 88 children in 20 years. Not all of them died in the arena. Some were taken by the cult, quietly, between the lines, written off as accidents. She falls silent. Her hands clench the folder of documents. Daniel asks why she's telling him this. Roxana says nothing. Then she says that her sister was in Class F 20 years ago. Her sister didn't die in the arena. The autopsy report was falsified. Her sister was taken by the cult. Roxana became an inquisitor to ensure the system functioned properly. For 10 years, she executed heretical teachers, believing that order equaled justice. 400 executions. 10 years. And only now, sitting in the storage room and listening to a man without horns explain to a vampire that blood can be donated voluntarily, has she understood. The system isn't broken. The system works as intended, and it was designed to kill children. Daniel is silent. Then he says that her sister probably loved to read. Elias has the same handwriting. Roxana looks at him. Her eyes, gray, cold, a winter lake. For a split second, the ice cracks. She sets the folder on the table, turns around, walks away. At the door, she says that at the hearing, she'll be a witness for the defense, not for the prosecution. The system beeps. Roxana Vale. Trust. 5. Rating up 35 points. Status changed. Ally. Daniel opens the folder. Documents, names, dates, evidence. 20 years. 88 children. The cult of the Silent Father. 3 council members. Valzarat. It's all connected. It all leads to one thing. He closes the folder, places it next to the journal, a red pen in his pocket, the warrant on the table, the folder with the evidence. The hearing is in 5 days. 12 archdemons will decide the fate of a man without horns, and the 4 children he taught to drink tea together. The 60th day, morning, the hearing. The hall of the Council of 12, huge, black marble. 12 chairs arranged in a semicircle, 12 archdemons, each over 1,000 years old, horns, wings, fangs, eyes that have witnessed the birth and death of empires. Daniel stands before them, in a worn jacket, with a red pen in his pocket, with a magazine under his arm. No lawyer, no defender, alone. Valzarat sits in the hall, not in a council chair, in the audience. He brought the charges. Illegal enhancement of students, use of prohibited teaching methods, suspicion of angelic espionage. Daniel asks to speak. The council nods. He speaks, simply, quietly, without fanfare. He says he's not a spy, not an angel, not a demon. He's a teacher. He says that in his world, he taught children who had been rejected. He says that here, he's doing the same thing. He says his methods aren't forbidden. His methods are tea, chess, words. He says that Elias didn't get stronger from training. He got stronger because, for the first time in 8 years, someone noticed that the light hurt him. He says that Yuna didn't get faster from exercising. She got faster because, for the first time in 5 years, she was allowed to be herself. He says that Sarah didn't spread her wings because of magic. She spread them because, for the first time in her life, someone called her by her real name. He says that Rena didn't activate her horns through power training. She activated them because for the first time in 15 years, Someone stood between her and the one who was causing her pain. He falls silent. 12 archdemons are staring at him. Silence. He pulls a journal from under his arm, opens it, points to the crossed-out words: coward, dangerous, defective, hornless. He says this is his crime. He crossed out the labels with a red pen. Then he does something no one expects. He quotes Valserod's dissertation, that very one, written 400 years ago, when Valserod was a young professor, before the purge, before the system, before the 88 dead children. The dissertation was titled, "On the Role of the Mentor in Unlocking a Student's Potential." In it, Valserod wrote, "The task of the educator is not to weed out the weak, but to find strength in everyone." Daniel quotes these words, word for word. He found the dissertation in the library basement. Lilith helped. Valserod sits in the auditorium. His face turns to stone. His yellow eyes widen. 400 years. He had forgotten those words. He had buried them under 22 F-grade students and 88 dead children. A man without horns dug them back up. Roxana stands up. She asks to speak. She is granted the floor. She lays out a folder of evidence: the cult of the Silent Father, 3 council members, falsified autopsy reports, her sister, 20 years. The room erupts, not with applause, but with noise, shouts, and accusations. 3 council members rise from their seats. They demand that the hearing be stopped. The remaining 9 exchange glances. A vote, 7-5, in Daniel's favor. F-13 is declared valid. Valserod is stripped of his professorship. An investigation into the cult of the Silent Father is opened. The 3 council members are suspended until the investigation is complete. Daniel stands in the council chamber, a journal under his arm, a red pen in his pocket. 7-5. He won, not with a sword, with words. An old dissertation, a cup of tea, and 4 children who taught him to believe again. A year later, morning. Office F-13 is no longer a storage room. It has been moved to the 3rd floor. 2 windows, a normal door, 6 chairs, all intact. A new blackboard, no cracks. 8 cups on the shelf, 4 old ones, 1 cracked, 1 without a handle, 1 with a chipped rim, 1 intact. 4 new ones for the new students. Daniel was offered the position of dean after the All-Academy tournament. He declined. He opened a second F-class section. 8 more students. 8 children rejected by their clans. F-14. 2 signs on the classroom door. F-13 and F-14. 8 and 4. 12 students. 1 teacher. The same teapot, an old one, with a magic reserve of 12 units. Daniel sits at the desk and checks the class register. 2 registers now, 2 classes. His reserve is still 4 units, lower than a teapot, lower than a candle, lower than a doorknob if a doorknob had magic. That hasn't changed. It won't change. He's human. He was human. He'll remain human. His strength lies elsewhere. The door opens. Rena, 17 now. She's grown 3 centimeters. Her hair is longer. Her eyes are the same, bold, bright, alive. The youngest champion of the all-academic tournament in the history of Baal Nemrod. She sits down on the floor, out of habit. Even though there are 6 chairs now, she says breakfast is ready. She brings him breakfast every morning, every single one, without exception. Daniel takes the tray, something resembling porridge, with venison. Yuna hunted it. Yuna hunts deer twice a week, out of habit. The door opens again. Elias, 18. He's grown taller. His shoulders are broader. His posture is straight. His skin is still pale. But he's standing by the window, in the sun, 10 minutes every morning. A habit, a ritual, a reminder. He can. He dares. He is worthy of the sun. He holds a book in his hands, a medical treatise, demonic hematology. He studies blood. Not as a weapon, as a medicine, the first vampire physician in the history of the demonic world. His mother, the Baroness, sent a letter 3 months ago. She demanded he return. Elias replied, with a single line, "I'm busy. I have patience. Roxana helped him formalize his emancipation. Legally, Elias no longer belongs to the Crumb clan. Legally, he is free. Yuna enters. 18. Shoulder-length hair. Amber eyes. She no longer sleeps in class. She sleeps at night. In wolf form. White fur. A sacred color. The Eastern Wolves clan has lifted the ban on transformation. Not out of kindness. Out of calculation. The white she-wolf made quite an impression at the all-academic tournament. The clan elders began negotiations. Yuna replied that she would return when she was ready. On her own terms. She walks into the classroom and sits down next to Rina. Their shoulders touch. Rina doesn't move away. Yuna doesn't move away. It's become a habit to be close. Sarah enters. Serafina, 18 in 2 months. Her wings. 2 wings, white, not yet fully formed, 23 feathers on each, 46 feathers in total. They don't fly, not yet, but they're there, white, angelic, visible. She no longer hides them. She wears loose-fitting clothes. Her back is bare. The feathers flutter in the breeze coming through the window. The cult of the Silent Father tried to take her 4 months ago, a kidnapping, at night, through a secret passage. The class freed her without Daniel. Rina found the secret passage by following the sound. Yuna, in her wolf form, caught up with the kidnappers in 3 minutes. Elias healed Sarah after the ritual cuts the cultists had managed to inflict. The class resonance activated for the first time without the teacher present. 200%. The 4 acted as a single organism, back to back, just as Daniel had taught them, just as they played chess, just as they fell and caught each other during morning training a year ago. Sarah enters and sits down on a chair next to Elias. Their hands rest side by side on the table. They don't touch. Almost. By a millimeter. Daniel sees it. He doesn't comment. He smiles into his cup. 4 of them. His 4. No longer children. Not scum. Not trash. Warriors. Healers. Defenders. Those who will take their final exams in a year. Those who will enter the world in 2 years. As different people. The door opens for the last time. Roxana. She comes every morning now. Not as an intor. As... she doesn't even know how herself. She took off her Inquisition badge 2 months ago. Placed it on Daniel's desk. Silently. He placed it next to a magazine. He didn't ask any questions. She's taken a job as Lilith's assistant in the library, temporarily, until she figures out who she is without her uniform, her sword, and 400 executions under her belt. She sits down at the table. Daniel pours her some tea, mint tea, into a chipped cup, her own. He'd found a new one for himself, also chipped, a different one. Roxana drinks and says nothing. Rina tells her she has dark circles under her eyes. Roxana tells Rina she's still sassy. Rina says it's a compliment. Yuna snorts. Almost a laugh. Daniel drinks his tea and watches them. The system stopped ringing every minute a long time ago. Now it rings quietly, in the background, like a heartbeat, constantly. Class F13. Overall trust level, 348 out of 400. Class resonance, 87%. Elias, 92. Yuna, 78. Sarah, 88. Rina, 90. Host's expected lifespan cannot be calculated. Reason, too many variables. System recommendation, continue. Daniel closes the panel. He finishes his tea. He stands up. He says that today is a special day for them. 8 new F14 students are coming for their first lesson. Rina asks if she can stay. Daniel says she can. Elias asks if he can help. Daniel says he can. Yuna doesn't ask. She just stays. Sarah pours tea into 8 new cups. They wait. Footsteps in the hallway. 8 pairs of feet. 1 heavy, 1 silent, 1 shuffling. 5 others. Each with its own rhythm, with its own pain, with its own story that no one has heard. The door opens. 8 faces in the doorway. Frightened, angry, empty, wary. 8 children who have been by the world. Daniel smiles, just as he smiled at the 4 of them a year ago, just as he smiled at Jihoon 10 years ago, calmly, warmly, without fear. He says his name is Daniel So. He says he'll be their homeroom teacher. He asks who wants some tea. Silence. A boy in the back row snorts. He says Daniel is an idiot and that they don't have any tea. Rena looks at the boy. She smiles. She recognizes herself from a year ago, angry, small, without horns, without hope. She picks up the teapot, that very one, the old one, with a reserve of 12 units. She pours the boy some tea, sets it in front of him, hot, minty, in a new cup. The boy looks at the cup, at Rena, at Daniel. His lower lip trembles. The system beeps softly. Class F-14, primary trust measurement, initiated. Daniel stands before 12 students, old and new, in a worn jacket with a hole in the elbow, with a red pen in his pocket, with a notebook on the desk, with a magic reserve of 4 units. Rena stands nearby, Elias nearby, Una nearby, Sarah is nearby. Lilith peeks through the door. She doesn't come in. She stands in the hallway, listening, just like a year ago when she came for the first time to listen to his lesson and cried in the archives afterward. Roxana sits at the table. She's drinking tea. She looks at the 8 new faces, at the 4 familiar ones, at one person without horns or wings, who stands before them all and smiles. She isn't smiling, not yet, but her fingers on the cup aren't trembling, for the first time in 10 years. Outside the window, the crimson sun of Gehenna rises above the academy's walls. Light falls on the classroom, on the 12 students, on the teacher. Elias stands in this light. He isn't hiding. He isn't glowing. He's standing there. He turns his face toward them. He smiles. A small, crooked smile, one that has long since become broad. Daniel turns toward the blackboard. He picks up a piece of chalk. Not magical, ordinary. The chalk that erases curses. He used it only once, for Sarah. He erased the remnants of the cult's seal. 23 feathers became 46 overnight. Now it's ordinary chalk, white, school chalk. He writes on the board, Rule number 1. In this class, no one is trash. 8 pairs of new eyes read the inscription. 4 pairs of old eyes read and remember. Rena remembers how, a year ago, she didn't know what to say. Now she knows. She turns to the 8 of them and says that Sonsinum isn't lying. She says she knows because a year ago she was sitting in their place, hornless, hopeless, with the note hornless in the journal, and he crossed out that note with a red pen and wrote her name, just her name, Rena, not hornless, not trash, not a reject, Rena. She says he'll do the same for them, because that's what he does. He sees children, not labels, children. Daniel stands at the blackboard, chalk in his hand, 12 faces before him, the sun outside the window, tea in the cups. On the shelf is a journal with 4 crossed-out labels and a 4 written in red ink instead of a 0. The system displays the final panel. S-rank class journal, status, active, host, Daniel So, teacher, magic reserve, 4, students, 12, graduates, expected, 12 out of 12. Daniel places the chalk on the shelf. He turns to the class. He says they'll start with something simple. He asks who knows how to play chess. Not a single hand goes up. He smiles. He pulls a sheet of paper out of his pocket. A sheet of paper from his bag, crumpled, old, the very same one on which he drew an 8x8 board for Rena a year ago. Rena sees the sheet and looks away, quickly. She rubs her eyes with her sleeve. She says it's dust. Una snorts. Daniel places the sheet on the table. He draws a new board next to it, for the 8 new ones. He says that each figure is weak on its own, but together they're invincible. 8 pairs of eyes are watching him. 4 pairs of eyes are watching the 8 of them. Lilith is listening from the hallway. Her lips move. She repeats the words she heard from her first teacher 2,000 years ago. The same words, the same heresy. Learning without fear, the spirit of Baal Nemrod, the first and only demon teacher, torn to pieces for heresy. For 2,000 years he waited, not for a warrior, not for a hero, for a teacher. Daniel So, 34 years old. Magic Reserve, 4 units. A history teacher from Busan, killed by his own student, reborn in a world where power determines everything, and who proved that power does not determine everything, that tea is stronger than a sword, that chess is stronger than horns, that the word doctor is stronger than the word coward, that a red pen is mightier than a red seal, that a single teacher, without magic, without horns, without wings, can rewrite the rules of a world where there were no rules, only strength, only fear, only the elimination of the weak. Daniel didn't rewrite the rules. He wrote new ones, with chalk on the blackboard. Rule number 1. In this classroom, no one is trash. The sun is shining outside the window. There's tea in the cups. The rule is on the board. There are 12 students in the classroom, and a teacher who simply teaches, one at a time.